Listen to this. Happy birthday to my husband. Declan Shields and Letterkenny comes in from Madeline. There you go, Greg. How are you this morning?
Happy birthday, Declan.
Declan, yeah.
I'm good. Go and see Pink on Friday.
You're going to see Pink on Friday?
I am, yeah. Very excited.
Where's she playing again?
She is down in Dublin.
Very good.
Yeah.
In Dublin? You'll be staying over then, I'm assuming?
Aye.
Good man.
And Rag and Bone Man, Human.
Oh, yeah.
He's supporting her.
Great. That'll be really good then.
Yeah,
so you're heading after the show then on Friday, are you?
No, I'm not coming in on Friday.
Oh, right. You looked at Caroline when you said that.
Shannon is going to see Taylor Swift on Friday. We were talking about it there. She says she was upset because she's going to miss the Donegal rally and everything.
Right, she's upset.
Yeah. And I says, where's she playing? And she says she's playing in the football ground that Pink's playing. I says, oh, they both playing in the same stadium on the same night. That'd be wild complicated. But it turns out she was a week out. Taylor Swift's not till the 28th.
How did Shannon get that mixed up?
Well, you answer that question, you figure out a lot.
Per Shannon. That's going to be good.
Be
Pink
a full
then.
week out about going to see Pink. Like, she would have headed down the road. Like,
imagine you just saved her for the trip.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah. So tell us this then, Pink. Are you the fan, or is it somebody else the fan, or what? What made you go to Pink?
I'm taking the full-time girlfriend down.
Who's the full-time girlfriend?
Ashleen.
All right. Oh, she'll love you for that. Oh.
No, she's a big Pink fan. I didn't.
Lovely, but she's great songs.
I'm experienced. I'm going for the experience as well, though.
The buzz,
yeah, and as I say, Rag and Bone Man's an extra bonus.
Lovely, yeah, that'll be good.
That'll be great. It's good. It's a day out.
So, you're taking off Friday then. So, are you heading down?
See, you're so secretive, right? You won't even tell me anything, and then you want my travel itinerary.
No, but you're like an open book. You used to be very close. Now you can't open book.
I am going to go down early. We're going to go down early. Maybe go into Dublin, do a bit of shopping or something.
Great.
Get back to the hotel.
Lovely.
Uber over to the Pink concert.
Like it.
And then get back.
Yeah.
And then come up.
When do you come back?
Coming back up the road should be even about 11.
Yeah, you're driving and coming up back up the road.
And then just listen to the rally for
that'd be good.
A weekend.
All right then.
Yeah. So that's my entire plan. Have you anything on?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to tell anyone.
No, I'm very secretive. I'm like, hey, just in for yeah.
I found out you were over in where were you again?
Where was it? Lourdes.
2 days after you come back.
I told you the day before I said I'm going over.
And what did you also say to me?
Huh?
What did you also say to me?
What did I also say?
Don't tell anyone.
Don't. Stop it. But I got holy water and little medals and stuff. And
by the way, listeners, this is the trip that he didn't pray for us on.
No, I didn't say God bless Greg Hughes or nothing like that. But then the lady said to me yesterday, she said, did you get your stuff? And I said, yeah. This is a message last night. She says, are you going to give some holy water to Greg Hughes?
Excellent. Where is it?
And I says, he needs a good slap. I'll prove it to you. Look, you'll not believe me.
I need a bath.
No, listen. This is really happened.
What about the story of the secret sound?
What's the story about this?
We can't do it today. Tomorrow?
Oh, Willie McMahon.
No, we'll do it tomorrow.
Oh, you see, you missed the mojo here. This is it here. Look, Mary, right? She says, hope you have a medal and holy water for Daddy Greg. This was at 19 minutes away from 9 p.m. last night. I says, it's a slap he needs. That's what I said.
Quite literally. No, but someone asked you about... No, we can't do it now.
Can I not?
No.
We could have, you didn't say.
I know, but I only just remembered. But there's a very good story about you over in Lourdes and the Secret Sound.
Yeah, this was...
No, we can't do it now. Tomorrow, tune in.
Right.
We'll go at 3 minutes to 9 tomorrow because it might take you that long.
Right, it would.
But trust me, this is a goodie.
Right, okay.
Isn't it? We're not the same story.
It was just really had me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's tomorrow morning, just before 9. It's 2 minutes past 9. Let's get a news update now. And it's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. 1 in 6 Ukrainians staying in state-provided accommodation have concerns about the safety of their children. A report from Doris has examined the experience of those who fled the Russian invasion. It found 1 in 10 are concerned about gender-based violence at the centres, while rats and mice have been reported at 6 centres around the country. Doris CEO John Lannon says the centres are not set up to provide an acceptable level of care for children who have travelled thousands of miles to flee conflict.
The welfare of children is compromised due to insufficient safeguards, lack of facilities, the absence of basic training and policies that are the minimum standards across other sectors. And one of our key recommendations is that accommodation centres should be required to comply with the Children's First Act, which they are not at present.
A former Donegal local election candidate has been released from prison after failing to pay a COVID fine. 67-year-old Dr. Anne McCluskey from Chapel Road, Derry, was jailed last Wednesday for the unpaid £255 fine. According to BBC News NI, having spent 2 days in Hydebank Prison, Dr. McCluskey, who is running in the upcoming Westminster election for Foyle, was released on Friday. The Stormont Assembly has been told that almost half of Northern Ireland's family carers are living below the poverty line at a time when they are saving the economy millions. West Tyrone MLA Daniel McCrossan told the Assembly that Carers Alliance is totally inadequate and it's vital that a carers recognition payment be paid immediately. This, he says, would be a first step in what must be a process of bringing in a fairer and more equitable Carers Alliance, which recognises the work that unpaid carers do on a regular basis.
Our carers are propping up the health and social care system and keeping Stormont's budget from collapse. They deserve better than a social security benefit that systematically traps them in poverty. Delivering the Carers Alliance recognition payment won't change that completely, but it is an important starting point, and there is a significant moral and financial case for the Department to prioritise it during the rest of this Assembly mandate.
A 50-year-old man is due in court today, charged in connection with the discovery of a suspected firearm and large quantity of drugs in Derry and Antrim. Searches were carried out in both areas yesterday. The man is charged with possessing ammunition and a firearm in suspicious circumstances, possessing an article with blade or point in a public place, possession of a Class A, Class B and Class C controlled drug, as well as intent to supply a Class C controlled drug. He's due before Derry Magistrates Court this morning. A 58-year-old man, also arrested as part of the investigation, has been released on police bail pending further inquiries. For weather now, mostly cloudy with a few light showers this morning, dry with sunny spells this afternoon and evening, and highest temperatures of 13 to 15 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
The National Inpatient Experience Survey is underway. If you spent 24 hours or more in a public hospital during May this year, you may have received an invitation in the post asking you to take part in the survey. Sharing your experience will help us to improve hospital care for everyone. For more information, visit yourexperience.ie. Thank you from the HSE, HICWA and the Department of Health.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. You're very welcome along to Tuesday's 9 till Noon Show on this Tuesday, the 18th of June, as we head towards hopefully some nicer weather as the weekend approaches. We're going to keep it nice and bright and sunny for you today, of course. And we want you involved in the conversation throughout the morning. You know how to do it, don't you? WhatsApp and text us 086 60 25,000 or give us a call on 07491 25,000 or email comments at highlandradio.com. Coming up just after 10, don't forget we've got Community Garda information where you hear for the first time the latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána. Joe McHugh, Deputy Joe McHugh is going to be joining us shortly. We're going to be talking about the challenges of teachers who wish to return to Ireland from abroad, the challenges that they face, and also, obviously, maybe he might put to bed, or whatever it might be, any speculation as to what it would take for him to go back into Fine Gael, and so on and so forth. That and so much more besides. You can watch the programme on YouTube, excuse me. That gluten-free bread I had there. You can watch the show, of course, on YouTube or on Facebook. Just search out Highland Radio. You can watch on YouTube on your big TV, or if it's a smart TV, of course, as most are now, or your Fire Stick. Right, okay, let's look at what's making some of the papers today. We'll start with the Irish Times. And European leaders are set to back Ursula von der Leyen for a second term as the head of the European Commission, following a push to settle on their pick for the powerful position quickly. So her reaction on our behalf, in inverted commas, to the Israel offensive has all been forgotten, obviously. Taoiseach Simon Harris said there was a consensus emerging among national leaders of the 27 EU countries to get behind Miss von der Leyen for another 5 years as president of the Commission. Leaders met in Brussels yesterday evening to kick off negotiations over who will be put forward for several high-profile roles at the top of the EU. The government's expected to make a decision on who it plans to nominate as Ireland's next EU Commissioner shortly, possibly as early as the coming days. While government buildings remains tight-lipped, most speculation within government circles is focused on Minister for Finance Michael McGrath as the likely nominee, but Minister Charlie McConalogue's name is still continued to be mentioned in certain circles for that position, though. He did describe any reference to that as idle speculation not so long ago. Unfortunately, if you are planning to travel and your chosen airline is Aer Lingus, you could be in bother because a strike by Aer Lingus pilots is likely to cost the airline between 20 million and 25 million a day, the company has warned. The airline's chief corporate affairs officer, Donal Moriarty, said last night that any such action would have a hugely damaging impact on the carrier's reputation across Ireland, the US and Europe. It appears to be designed to inflict the maximum disruption on the travelling public in terms of timing it is to happen, he said, of the strike threat. Aer Lingus pilots could announce strike dates as early as today after they voted overwhelmingly in favour of industrial action in a fresh ballot at the weekend. Their union is legally required to give Aer Lingus a minimum of 7 days' notice, meaning their action could begin next week. The pilots are looking for a near 24% increase. Now, this is really quite significant. They want a 24% increase. How much do you think that represents? Between 40 and 45 million a year. So that means pilots would be earning around about €300,000 per year. Any action announced by the Irish Airline Pilots Union today could include all out strike days or work to rules. But the bottom line is that many of you may be choosing to travel over the next 2 or 3 weeks. You'll be watching on there with great interest because not everyone's going to be accommodated on other flights either because it's a busy time of the year. So there's no doubt, unfortunately, that there are people listening to this show that are going to be heavily inconvenienced by that. And, this day and age, if you manage to get away, it takes an awful lot of money, an awful lot of planning, and probably an awful lot of time. On to the Irish Daily Mail now, and record levels of domestic abuse were reported last year with over 40,000 incidents. But Women's Aid has warned this is just the tip of the iceberg. The charity's annual Impact Report 23, released today, shows 40,048 disclosures with its helpline and regional face-to-face services during 28,638 contacts last year. This is up 18% on 2022, and it's the highest figure recorded by the organisation in its 50-year history. Sarah Benson, Chief Exec of Women's Aid, said the number and nature of the disclosures is utterly appalling. We will be speaking to Women's Aid, or at least getting reaction to that story later on in this programme. 40,000 instances of domestic abuse recorded last year. That's how many is that a day? I mean, that's unbelievable. That's an unbelievable level there. On to the Irish Daily Star today, and this is another story we'll be talking about a little later on. Fewer drivers and front seat passengers in Ireland are wearing seatbelts, the RSA has found. There was a 4% decline in seatbelt wearing among drivers in 2023 compared to the year before. Now, in terms of the road safety message, there's an awful lot of people might go, well, I'm very careful on my phone, or, I don't want to, I can handle the car at speed, or whatever it might be. There's no excuse for breaking any of the laws, but you cannot dispute the importance of wearing a seatbelt in terms of the difference between life and death, and sometimes even worse, very serious injury. But less people are wearing the seatbelts. Why? And what are they doing to circumvent the seatbelt wearing? Most cars now will have an annoying bing as soon as someone in the car is not wearing a seatbelt. Like, how are people getting around it? And if you're one of those seatbelt wearers, you can text us anonymously. Why are you not wearing your seatbelt? Well, these new figures are according to a manual observation study by the RSA between last September and October. While there were also fewer front seat passengers wearing seatbelts, down 5%, the study says saw a 2% increase in seatbelt wearing among rear seat passengers compared to last year. Seatbelt compliance remains relatively high. 95% of drivers, 94% of front seat passengers, and 95% of rear seat passengers strapping themselves in. But the 4% drop in the use of seatbelts in cars, that's one I find really quite remarkable. As I mentioned, the Habitats Law is in now, and the Irish Sun reports that environment ministers across the EU yesterday voted to pass legislation to restore damaged nature and ecosystems. About 9% of Irish land is likely to be affected by this, we're told. The EU passed the nature restoration law following months of fraught negotiations. The legislation is seen as a key part of the European Green Deal, which seeks to establish the world's most ambitious climate and biodiversity targets. The law sets binding restoration targets for specific habitats, and it aims to restore at least 20% of the land and sea areas by 2030. Following months of debate and disagreement, the law was yesterday signed off by European environment ministers. And as I say, like everything, be it this, the Migration Pact, there are very strong voices that are arguing it one way or another. And it's very hard to sort of see the woods for the trees in terms of what the actual impact on people might be or what it actually means. And lastly, in the Irish Daily Mirror this morning, Ireland's recognition of a Palestinian state is being used by Israel to justify increasing illegal settlements in the West Bank. Benjamin Netanyahu said Tel Aviv had discussed steps to strengthen settlements in response to the countries that unilaterally recognised a Palestinian state after October 7 and responses against the Palestinian Authority following its actions against Israel in international bodies. He added the Defence Minister and the Attorney General requested additional time to comment on several of the clauses. The Prime Minister's instructed that all of the proposals be submitted to a vote at the next Security Cabinet meeting. Right, okay, that was a run through the papers. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number. You can give us a call too, of course, on 074 91 25,000.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra and Diner, Mountaintop Letterkenny, winner of Best Family Dining at the Highland Radio Hospitality Awards.
For new perspectives and a fresh vision, join me, Greg Hughes, on the 9 till noon show every Thursday at 10:15 for your voice, your community.
The Mother and Baby Institution's payment scheme is now open for applications. This scheme provides financial payments and health supports to eligible people who spend time in mother and baby and county home institutions in Ireland. There's a straightforward application process in place to help everyone access the benefits that they are entitled to. To find out more, visit gov.ie/payment scheme or call the helpline at 01 522 9992, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
It's your fault. You deserve it. It's all in your head. They don't mean it. They can change. Recognising male domestic abuse can be hard. Seeking support can be harder. For confidential advice and support, free phone the National Male Advice Line on 1-800-816-588. MAL, more than just a helpline.
Visit Heron Auto Donegal Town for an incredible range of Kia 242 offers. Check out our range of diesel, hybrid, plug-in hybrid and fully electric EVs, as well as exciting models like the new 7-seat Sorrento. With finance available from 0%, a free home charger and a €500 Super Value gift card on all orders before June 30th. Visit Heron Auto, Killybegs Road, Donegal Town or see heronauto.ie.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Planning a break this year? Check out the quality tours on offer with Boyce Travel Ramelton. Choose from Cork this August, Mamma Mia in Dublin or the Ploughing Championships. Boyce Travel. Call 9151043.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Okay, we got this email in from a listener. I was wondering if you could highlight this topic on your programme. My son is teaching in the UAE and is planning to move home this year, so he's been busy applying for teaching posts here in Donegal. He's been lucky enough to have been shortlisted for interviews in several schools in the county, but seeing as he's still in the UAE, the schools have refused online interviews. When applying for these posts, the application form states clearly that at present he's teaching in the UAE. I can't understand why it's the case. We all know of the shortage of teachers in our lovely country, and we all know of the mass immigration of our young people. And now, when some of them are making the move back home, they come across this. Deputy Joe McHugh is a former Minister for Education, so we thought he might be a good person to talk to on this. Good morning, Joe. How are you getting on?
Good morning, Greg. How are you getting on?
Doing fine, thanks.
Sorry, I'm getting on good.
Oh, good. All right. So, what's your take on this? I mean, can you understand why maybe they want to see people face to face, sort of get a real sense of someone, or what do you think?
Yeah, look, I think the preference is face to face, but having gone through COVID and also the fact that we've so many teachers abroad, schools do facilitate online interviews. Now, the only thing I would say, I don't know if that's primary or secondary, but I reached out to John Boyle and the INTO on this, and I mean the INTO line is very, very clear. Yes, the preference is to have in-person interviews, but they also want to facilitate online if they can't be there. So I think if it's primary, I think John Boyle would be helpful to that listener, and I'm happy to put that person, that mother, in touch with them. And also, if it's a secondary level one, I know John Gorman from Tours Awalya has been very, very proactive in trying to get teachers back from the UK, and he's also concentrating in the Middle East. And I think there has to be a way around this. During the pandemic, every single school, primary and secondary, were doing online interviews. And just once again, while the preference is to be there in person, I think like if you've somebody in the Middle East now that's looking to come home, the cost involved in flying home and back and losing teaching time over there, like that's something that should be facilitated as far as I'd be concerned.
Yeah, I think it's really a case, isn't it, of common sense needs to prevail here, really, because it's a lot to expect someone to either fly over for an interview or to jack in their job and come over and then start the process. We need teachers. We'd love to see people back. As I say, a bit of common sense to facilitate that. We did a lot remotely, as you quite rightly pointed out, during COVID.
Yeah, that's it. And look, I know maybe interview panels and boards of management may take a decision, and maybe do they look at it in terms of fairness? Does an online interview give an advantage over a person in person? Maybe there's questions around these, but I think if every participant is given the option, whether they're in Dubai or whether they're in Duncanely, I think that the option should be there. And look, most schools now have the facility and the technology to do that. So I would encourage the mother of that student to get in contact with either John Boyle or John Gorman if it's a secondary school issue.
Yeah, but you believe that particularly in primary level, a solution can be found in that regard, and hopefully also in secondary level.
Yeah, that's it. And like one of the things coming up now in September, there's an extra 500 posts of responsibilities going into primary schools. So I mean that's going to free up more options around school places. And I know the INTO campaign are looking to reduce the class size by 2, and that they'll be looking at more teachers as well. So look, there has always been an issue around creating a sort of a progression of responsibility within the schools. Like everybody wants to move on to the next post, they work hard, they want a position of responsibility. But with 500 posts now in the primary school sector, that's something that will free up school places, and I think there'll be options there for people who want to move up the ladder.
Is it still the case that experience overseas doesn't really count to your career progression in the Republic? And do you think that's perhaps a key area that needs to be looked at in encouraging people home?
Look, I think there are anomalies. Some schools abroad, if they're public schools, they can be included in that incremental acknowledgement, for the want of a better word. But if you're in a private school, you're not. So I mean, most young teachers that comes out of the system, they go to places like Abu Dhabi and Qatar and different places, and within months they could become principal of these schools. And that's enormous experience to be doing that over a period of 3, 4, 5 years. And like we really, really should be looking at the value of that. And I know the other argument is that that's accounted towards pensions, and there's another debate around that. But at the same time, the rich experience that some of these teachers are getting abroad as deputy principals and positions of responsibility, that's something that we should value, I believe.
Yeah, particularly if they are filling a need. Do you know what I mean? If we were in a situation where we had an abundance of teachers here, and then it all of a sudden felt really unfair or uncompetitive or whatever it might be, but we do have these, experience gaps, and we have the jobs and the availability. And, at this point, whatever happens down the line, it would make an awful lot of sense to to actually avail of that experience that's been learnt overseas?
Well, yes, and to the bargain as well, because of the pressures and stress around positions of responsibility, principals at the moment are finding the curriculum and suppose things have changed so much in the last few years. The different pressures around that responsibility that there will be openings for deputy principals, positions of responsibility, and principals. So having that rich experience would be a good thing.
And a listener says, as someone who works in the medical field, we interview people all of the time online. If we didn't, we'd never have any doctors in Ireland. I can't understand why they wouldn't embrace the online interview. That's a really good point, actually.
Yeah, it is. And I know the last meeting we had with Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy was talking about the different positions of responsibility within the hospital and different consultants, and reaching out to the UK, all around the world, and to go further afield, and nearly all of that's done online. Yeah.
On to speculation, and it's ongoing really, about your future within Fine Gael. I mean, just to be clear, regardless of what happens, you're not contesting the next general election. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's correct.
So even if the hatchet was buried in Fine Gael and they acceded to whatever red lines you had, I mean, you're heading towards your political retirement now in terms of the Dáil, aren't you? So that's not going to change one way or other.
No, that's not going to change. My personal preference is to end my days in Fine Gael.
Yeah.
I started off in Fine Gael. You build up friendships within any group, whether it's a sports team or political party, and that's where I feel at home. But when I took the decision around, I know this is history now and boring listeners around.
No, it's fine. It's good. No harm.
I felt at the time that I could use my position to get transfer of eligibility and penalty-free downsizing, across the line. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. And I felt on the one hand, I felt that I was, reducing my power and influence within the party and within government by doing it. But I felt it was the right thing to do, to do it on behalf of the people, to try to highlight the issue that yes, on the one hand, yes, it is a good scheme in terms of the commitment of exchequer funding over a 20-year period. But for the here and now, for so many people, it's not a good scheme. They're finding difficulty with financial issues, cash up front, and even the daunting, I suppose, experience of becoming a QS, an architect, an engineer, and trying to deal with the whole process of rebuilding their homes. And that is, I just felt at the time that was the right thing to do, and I still feel it's the right thing to do, and try to use my position as somebody who's voting with the government on other issues, but in terms of the defective blocks issue, that's where I have a problem.
Did Simon Harris reach out to you after his elevation to Taoiseach, I wonder, or vice versa for that matter?
As far as I can remember, he reached out to me prior to becoming leader of Fine Gael. So he reached out. That was the very first. I think that was a week before his inauguration. So after that, he reached out to me again, on an informal basis, and said he would like me back in the party. And I think, look, the motivation for a political party to have a TD back in the party is obviously to be of assistance during elections. As you know, Greg, I wasn't directly active in the last local and European elections because I felt it would have been hypocritical by doing that on the ground, and also having my stance in Dublin. So, I mean, there's a general election coming up. I won't be standing. There will be a Fine Gael candidate or candidates. And no doubt, I personally would like to be involved in that. But as of today, if the election is called today, I won't be involved in it.
I think in speaking to Simon Harris through this programme, I think he is a good listener, and I think he does understand certain situations. And you do get the feeling from speaking to him that he might want to try and resolve some of the easier to resolve stuff. But then again, after those conversations, nothing appears to happen. I mean, no one could have articulated the stance better than you can, because you've made the sacrifice that you did. does he believe the stuff could be worked on? Did he give you any indication that he will go back and see if at least some ground can be conceded to, to the homeowners on some of these issues? Because I believe he gets it, but then you wonder, is the system such that even the Taoiseach can influence a scheme like this?
Well, I do believe he is, conscientious, and he is interested in doing something, and he said he would be interested in looking at it and taking it away. So obviously, between the pressures of the locals and the Europeans, and the aftermath of it, I believe there's a window now for him to do that comprehensively and get the people around him to look at this. I reached out to him again in the last week to try to get a one-to-one meeting. When that happens, I'll probably have more of an idea of where his thinking. But look, there's a number of issues there. Minister Darragh Bryan now has an opportunity to increase the cap by 10%. That would be an extra 42,000 for people. That would be a significant change. I know the SEI grant in the last week is going to be significant, but that was already in the legislation, so that was going to happen anyway. But one of the things that Johnny McGuinness called for, and Johnny is as a result of Micah is no longer a councillor, and I think the fact that he called for a Taoiseach-led response, I think if something like that was done, that would be very helpful. Now that we're hearing all the different counties that are involved, this is not a Donegal issue. I know you keep talking about it, and people affected by defective blocks know this. It's not just an issue for Donegal, Mayo, or Clare, Sligo. It's a national issue now, and we need to grasp that nettle of treating it as a national issue, a humanitarian issue, an issue that has had such a negative effect and still has such a negative effect on people's behaviour. And we at the same time, we have to give people hope, and there are ways we can do that. And if I'm a pensioner and I have no relations, if I'm entitled to the scheme, there should be a facility for transfer of eligibility. I know a pensioner can bequeath the house to their son or daughter, but not every pensioner is in that position. So that there's another small area that won't be extra cost to Exchequer that should be looked at.
Yeah, okay, listen, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it. That's former Minister for Education, Deputy Joe McHugh there. We are going to be talking about getting your passport in order. What's the story with the passport service if you are intending to travel? That's coming up after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Cool it this summer with the Curry's range of fridge freezers. Get the higher fridge freezer for only €849, save €130. Or save €50 on the LG 6040 fridge freezer for only $559. And don't forget, our experts will deliver and install your new appliance for half price. Shop in store or online at currys.ie.
Imagine a wedding venue that can be hired exclusively for you and your guests. Picture stunning views overlooking one of Donegal's most scenic beaches, an authentic country manor as your accommodation, incredible glass-fronted marquee views all day, and a team of experts who want to help you plan every step of the way. Sounds too good to be true? Not at Drumhalla House in Rathmullen. It really has to be seen to be believed. Visit drumhallahouse.ie or check out Drumhalla House on Instagram for more details.
Every day's an exciting adventure with the National Trust. Spend summer exploring magnificent mansions, glorious gardens, tree-lined trails and riverside rambles. Hop into the wildlife heptathlon at Mount Stewart or walk the plank by the River Blackwater at the Argery. Pick up pond dipping kits at Florence Court. Take aim at archery at Castle Ward or try lazy lawn games at Rowan Garden. With lots of "Can we come again?" on the way home. Search National Trust NI to find out more. National Trust, for everyone, forever.
Bí me sé cant faoin léamh agus an scríobh. Tá an saoladh athrú go mór, agus bíonn sé díon chuid agan formacha a lína, bilí a hiiscint nó an fón cliste a oibrú. Tá sé níos coitianta nó mar is dóile. Fáy amach conas gur féidir leatsa do chuidí dhéana ag adultliteracyforlife.ie. Le tacaíocht ó rialtas na Héarden agus solas.
Attention golfers! Major value continues for the US Open at McGurk's Golf Letterkenny. Shop the top brands in golf like TaylorMade, Callaway, Under Armour, Adidas and more. Visit us at Unit 16 Letterkenny Folk Retail Park today.
Now, you're welcome back to the programme. Una Fannin is Head of Policy, Strategy and Legal with the Passport Service and joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Una. Thanks very much for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me this morning.
Okay, right. There could be a couple of things complicating people's travel over the next while. Some of it's certainly outside of our control with what's going on at Aer Lingus. But the other thing could be your passport. And I suppose every single season, or every time of the year for that matter, Una, people perhaps take their passport out with not too long to go before their holidays or their break, and they realise that the passport is out of date or is perhaps going to be out of date before or during the holidays. So you come across that quite a bit, I would say. I'd say that's what a lot of the panic, quite a bit of the panic, where it comes from.
Yes, we're very busy at the moment. It is what we would call our high season. People getting ready, planning their summer trips now, especially as the school holidays are coming up. And so I suppose our big message this year and every year is to apply in plenty of time and to apply online. So our Passport Online service is the quickest turnaround, and it's the most effective way to apply for your passport to ensure you have it before your travel date.
And you say busy. I mean, it's almost 500,000 passports. In fact, you'll break through that presumably this month, issued so far this year. I mean, that's huge numbers.
Yeah, actually, as of this week, we've issued 600,000 passports to date. So before the end of June, before halfway through the year, we're over 600,000 passports, which would be a record for us. So yes, we're seeing very, very high demand. But that said, there are no backlogs, no delays. So once people get their application into us on time, they will have their passport on time.
What is the current application process and timelines at the moment, Una?
So again, the best way to apply for your passport is to apply online. So I'll go through the turnaround times for your listeners, just so they understand what that turnaround time looks like. So for a simple adult renewal, so if you've previously had a passport and you apply online with us, you will have your passport within 10 working days, and that can be often quite can be quicker than that. And then for a complex renewal, and that would be for somebody who's maybe changed their name because of marriage, or for a child renewal. So if your child needs a new passport, that is 15 working days through our Passport Online service. And then for first timers, that would be our young children and babies who've maybe never held a passport before, or new citizens. It is 20 working days through Passport Online. Now, we do also offer a postal service, a paper application service, but that does take considerably longer. It's 8 weeks for the post passport service. So certainly we recommend that people use our Passport Online service.
And across the board at the moment, pretty much 100% of passport applications are being processed within these timelines or even ahead of them in cases. I mean, we often get the stories that come in that someone sent away for a passport on a Monday and it come on a Wednesday. That's not the commitment you're making today, but things seem to be working much more smoothly at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. As I said, we're not having any backlogs or delays. Now, I would say it is important for our applicants to make sure they submit everything that they need to submit to us on time. Those turnaround times that I mentioned go from the date on which we receive your supporting documentation. So not the day that you apply online, it's the day that we receive your supporting documentation. So for a child, for instance, we'll need a consent form from the guardians that will be witnessed. And so we'd ask that people send those in to us as soon as possible so that we can start working on your passport application.
I have to go for a third time for our young son's passport. On the two occasions, firstly, I went to a Garda station to get it witnessed, but it was a part-time Garda station. And then the second time, it was a 24-hour Garda station. And on both occasions, it seems the passport office was unable to get in contact with the Garda. I presume you have to actually speak to them specifically. And I thought it was being processed. We thought it was being processed. And then eventually, weeks later, it was sent back saying that, contact wasn't able to be made with the witness. How common is that? And what can an Egypt like me do to avoid that the third time I try?
So I would say for child renewal, so if your children have had passports...
No, this is first time in this instance.
Oh, first time. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So any first time application does need to be witnessed by Garda. I would recommend that you attend a larger Garda station that has a good range of opening hours. We do find some of the more rural Garda stations are closed.
But
However,
it is the specific Garda you have to make contact with, isn't it?
No, we don't. We ask that the Gardaí record the witnessing in the station logbook.
Okay.
And we just need to get that confirmation from the Garda station that the witnessing is in their logbook. So we don't need to speak to the specific Garda. So we will call the Garda station 3 times to try and get confirmation of the witnessing. And if that fails, we will call the superintendent's office to see if we can do it. So we will check 4 times on that Garda signature before we ask the applicant to send in a new consent form. I would say it is very important that we do get those signatures witnessed and witnessed correctly. That is part of our integrity and security process to ensure that we protect the rights of the child and their guardians, and to ensure that all the guardians have provided their consent correctly.
Another complaint we've had in the past, and maybe it's resolved now, but just to bring it up in any case, is that the progress bar, it can go up and then it feels like it can go back again and go up and down and up and down. Does that need looking at so people can get as clear a picture as possible as to the process of their application?
Yes, we have been doing some work on our passport tracker, and I think people will find that it's a lot more accurate now. There's information on our website as to what the different statuses mean. But essentially, you will have an issue by date once you go onto the tracker, and that will be the turnaround time for your specific type of application. That said, if there's a document missing or if there's something wrong with your photo, we will have to reach out to you and request additional documents or maybe a new photo, and that will push that issue by date out. So it's really, really important that people give us plenty of time and don't leave it to the last minute. So as soon as you are thinking about booking a holiday, I would say take out the passports, make sure they're in date, make sure you can find them, make sure all the kids have one, and certainly do send those off to us as soon as you can. Another thing I would mention, Greg, is if people are stuck, we do have an urgent appointment service at our offices in Dublin. You can apply for an appointment to have your passport turned around in either 1 day or 4 days. So if you do find, you're a week before your holiday and you can't find the passport or it's out of date, do contact us to get an urgent appointment, and we can facilitate that for renewals only. We cannot do that for first-time applications.
Okay, Una, thank you very much indeed. I appreciate it. Just one question, see here if it's coming in. Can you ask, just last question. Can you ask how you update your passport card? Passport was issued for 10 years, but card is for 5. So they have a passport that's 10 years and the card's 5.
Okay, so the passport card is valid only for 5 years, and it is generally issued if people apply for a package of a book and a card. The book will have 10 years and the passport card will have 5 years, but you can renew your passport card. So you can make a new application for a new passport card. The reason the passport card is valid only for 5 years is just because of wear and tear on the document. It's a credit card sized card that people hold in their wallets generally. So, there can be a lot of wear and tear on it. So you can apply for €35 for a new card for another 5-year validity.
Okay, Una, thanks very much for your time. I do appreciate it. That's Una Fannin, Head of Policy, Strategy and Legal with the Passport Service. And also to book your travel insurance when you book your holiday, if you're lucky enough. A lot of people book the holiday and then book the travel insurance before they leave, just before they leave. But the travel insurance can cover an awful lot that potentially could happen depending on the policy between when you booked it and when you depart. So it's good advice too, if you're lucky enough to be getting away, to book the travel insurance as soon as you can. Are the teachers who are on career breaks being paid a retainer? So are their positions effectively being held for them? I'll check into that. Just to let you know, by the way, if you're on the roads, there's a lorry off the road at the turn-off for Dromahal on the Lifford Road. Garda are currently at the scene. We don't believe there is any injuries there. That's more to be cautious on the approach. Hi, Greg. If they opt into the Migration Pact, does that mean we have to accept 30,000 on top of the tens of thousands arriving from England and other non-EU countries? As I say, the Migrant Pact is one of those issues whereby some say it's fantastic and it will reform this and it will do that, and the others believe it's a floodgates situation. I can't answer that off the top of my head. We'll dig into it a little bit. It's very hard actually to get someone who can go through it all that doesn't have a dog in the race, so to speak, but it's something we are working on. Right, okay, we are going to be speaking to dog behaviourist Kathleen Murray after we take this break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
New this week in Home Store and More. All camping is all half price. That's right, all tents, camping tables and chairs, sleeping bags and other camping accessories all at half price. But better hurry, because when all this half price camping is gone, it's gone. Also, all toilet seats are still all half price. But when all the half price toilet seats are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
House Proud. House Proud Super Summer Sale is now on. There's over £5 million of warehouse stock ready for immediate delivery, with an extra 15% of everything in store and online. We won't be beaten on price. Shop in store today at our flagship store, Abercorn Square, Strabane, or House Proud Oma.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Now at Platform 1, Heritage Week event registration.
Are you taking that? I'm on it every year.
Am I not too late?
Don't worry, it's not leaving till August 17th.
So I still have time?
Loads.
But I'm not part of a heritage group.
You don't need to be. Anyone can register.
Great. I'd better get organised though. See you then.
Heritage connects us all. Time to get on board at heritageweek.ie.
National Heritage Week is a programme of the Heritage Council, supported by the local authorities' heritage teams and the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhenny's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhenny's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
Mostly cloudy, just a few very light showers in the morning. They'll fade away. Dry with sunny spells for the afternoon and evening. Temperatures creeping up, 13 to 15 degrees in moderate northerly winds. Cool tonight, temperatures 4 to 8 degrees overnight. Right, so yesterday, obviously, we were discussing on the programme a gentleman who was out running in Muff on Sunday and was bitten by a Rottweiler and very seriously injured. And that has connotations. He suffered a very serious injury to his thigh and had to go to hospital for treatment yesterday morning. And obviously that sparked a conversation about restricted breeds. We don't have banned dogs in this country. We have restricted breeds. Rottweilers are on them, which means that if they're out in public, they must be on a lead no longer than 2 meters. That lead has to be a strong lead. They have to be wearing a collar, of course. That collar has to have the name and address of the owner on it, and they also must be muzzled. Kathleen Murray is a dog behaviourist and joins us on the programme now. Kathleen, thanks so much for taking the call today.
Oh, you're welcome, Greg. Good morning to you all.
Can we understand why there are a list of restricted breeds and why they must be, muzzled and on firm leads and what have you in public?
Not really, because I don't believe in the restricted breeds list in the first place. Because my reason is I've worked with an awful lot of the dogs on the restricted breeds list over the years. And I have not seen dogs behave like the dogs that you see on the front of the newspaper or attacking people and things. So that's why I don't believe that you can ban an entire breed. Another example of that is when these dogs on restricted breeds lists can be used for therapy dogs, they can be used for autistic children, they can be used with the military, they can be used in the police, drug detection dogs. How can they be used for all of those things if they're all so terrible? So it's an individual thing with each breed. It's like, say, ban all white people. It's not something that you can put a blanket ban on because or restrict, because they're all individuals. They're all different, and you have to take each one on its own individual merit. And the bottom line is, you need to understand the dog you have in front of you. That's what you need to understand. Why do you have that particular breed? Is it because you like that particular breed? But do you actually know enough about that particular breed and what they were bred for and their instincts? And have you done enough to understand their needs? Are you meeting their needs? Have you trained this dog? Do you know how to train a dog of that breed? These are the questions that people need to ask.
Okay, but say we've got two dogs, right? A Jack Russell, and a Rottweiler, for an example, and both are out walking in the park, and neither are muzzled, but both are obviously under effective control by the owner. Do you not believe that the Rottweiler creates a greater danger to the public, i.e., the strength of the dog and the difficulty in controlling it if it did become aggressive, and also the damage it can inflict with its jaws versus, say, for instance, a Jack Russell? Like, are we not comparing, tiny little apples with massive oranges here? They aren't the same, because if there is an act of aggression, the consequences of a Rottweiler's act of aggression or an Alsatian's act of aggression is far more severe than that of a Jack Russell or even a Labrador.
Yeah, well, when you started that comment, you mentioned two dogs out here, both well trained, and then you would not say just because one has bigger jaws. If they're both well trained and they're both under control, then I don't see what the problem is. And I've worked with a lot of dogs like that, and they've been out in public. It's the ones that are not well trained. I have seen Jack Russells do phenomenal damage to people's legs as well. I have also seen a woman die from a bite from a Yorkshire Terrier because it turned to septicemia. So, I mean, just because they're small doesn't mean they can't do damage. But I can understand where you're coming from with the bigger jaws, the stronger bite and all of that. And that's what people focus on. And that's why we have so many attacks, because we're not focusing in the right place. We're not focusing on how are they doing these things? How are they getting away from owners? How are they not coming back when they're called? How are these dogs not under control like every other dog? And if you have a bigger dog, obviously you have a bigger responsibility. And that's what people are not taking seriously enough. And the other reason I don't believe in the restricted breeds list is because there's not enough people to police it. So how many people have you seen or observed, and how many people have your listeners seen and observed with breeds on that list out walking about with no muzzle at all? Mm-hmm. And we haven't heard of incidents with them, but they're not heeding the law either. So you see, people are not actually paying attention to the law in the first place, so therefore it's a waste of time. Then they're not enough to police it, so it's a waste of time. So we have to look at a better way of dealing with this. We have to look at it a completely different way.
But Kathleen,
so what do we do? Do we ban?
I do think restricted breeds is waving the white flag in terms of proper responsible dog ownership. But we're not going to fix the responsible dog ownership. Most people are very responsible, of course. But if you can't, if you have people that have dogs for different reasons or treat them certain ways, we can't fix that problem. It's easier then, is it not, to impose a ban or a restricted breed? Because at the end of the day, we have to protect humans. If it was a child, and I know this is whataboutery, but if this was a child on Sunday, and I don't know if you saw the damage inflicted on this man, if that was a child, we'd be having a very different conversation today.
Well, I'd probably be having the same conversation, to be honest, because I always look through the dog's head. I don't look at the end product of what the dog has done. I'm looking at why the dog did it, because that's my job. Why, and then to address why, and then to put it right. And what I have found over the years is that people don't listen to you. A lot of people do not listen to you. You can give them the advice, and they'll say, yeah, and oh yeah, must do this, must do that, but they don't actually do it. So what do we have to do about that then? Do we need to restrict people who get these dogs? Do we have to put a complete ban on anything over 25 kilos? Do we have to come from a different angle, because this law is clearly not working. And I'm not saying we shouldn't restrict anything. I'm saying we definitely should restrict. But what should we restrict, and where should we start?
So you'd be of the view then, say, Alsatians, German Shepherds, Rottweilers, XL Bullies, Staffordshire Bull Terriers. You say they are at no greater risk of aggression or protection of the owner or having an aggressive event, you're saying those breeds of dogs are no more likely to attack another human, to attack a human, than the likes of a sheepdog, Labrador, or Jack Russell?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that all dogs are capable of this.
No,
collies. Have you ever seen a collie?
Yeah, of course I have. I'm asking you: are the breeds I mentioned more likely, in your view, to have that have an act of aggression, to be defensive of an owner, or to attack? Are they any more likely, in your view, than the likes of a sheepdog, a Labrador, or a Jack Russell?
No, they're not, actually, to be honest, because they're herding dogs. German Shepherds are herding dogs. Rottweilers are herding dogs. Collies are herding dogs. I can name an awful lot of herding dogs. Corgis. We all know how famous corgis are for nipping at people's heels. That's their instinct, is to run after people and grab them by the legs, because that's what herding dogs do. And if you've got a herding dog breed, that's what it's going to do if you leave it to its own devices and if you don't train the dog.
I just find it hard to categorise in the same conversation a corgi nipping at someone's heels and a Rottweiler taking part of someone's thigh off. Do you know what I mean? I can't see how those two scenarios can be treated equally in any scenario.
I can understand exactly where you're coming from there, Greg. And you're thinking of the jaw size. I'm thinking of the control on that dog. If that dog's controlled, I have worked with all of these dogs, remember. I've been in houses where there have been maybe 5 Rottweilers and 8 bullies and stuff like that. And I have never had a second's bother with any of those dogs. I've had them myself over the years. I've had German Shepherds. People know I've had German Shepherds. I've used them for demonstrating commands. I've used them for all different kinds of things. But it has to be that people know what they're doing. It all comes back to the person on the other end of that lead. That's where it comes back to. You can forget about the dogs. It comes back to who has the dog, why do they have the dog, have they got the dog under control? And that's why I'm saying, how can people go out and use these dogs for functions where they're in public, they're among children, they're doing all those things, and those dogs don't react like that? How can that be? And then you get a dog that attacks somebody when they're out for a walk or out for a run. You know, their instincts are triggered. The person on the end of the lead probably hasn't seen it coming. You need to see the thing coming before the dog sees it. So it's all about training. It's all about awareness. It's all about knowing the dog you have in front of you, because you can have 6 different Rottweilers standing in front of you. 2 of them you couldn't push out of your way because they're that lazy they wouldn't get to their feet. 2 of them would attack anything that moves in front of them, you know, and 2 of them are middle of the road. They're fairly easygoing. They listen to what you say, but at the same time you have to keep an eye on them. You need to know the individual dog, you know, and you need the owner that gets them. You see, people are getting these dogs for the wrong reasons. And in Ireland in particular, over the years, a lot of people got German Shepherds and Rottweilers.
But none of them are getting them to herd. You know, I mean, you've described, and it paints a lovely picture. They're herding dogs, but none of them have. No one has them for herding.
Well, I'll tell you.
I mean, is that fair on the dog? Is it fair on you keeping a dog that naturally wants to herd? Is it fair for you to keep that dog in a rural environment, not allowing it to do what it wants to do for fear of it being shot for one reason? I mean, is that fair to that dog?
We'll take a look at, is it fair to collies to keep them in a rural environment when they're bred to herd?
Is it fair? I mean, maybe we're very entitled humans that we
collies kill as many sheep as any other dog, and working collies kill them because they love to work and they'd run them onto the ground. So that's why collies have to be controlled on farms, because they would work all day if you let them. They'd be out there hunting those sheep all day long. But you know, that's why they need to be supervised, and you need to be out in the field with them when you're working. So that's what I'm saying. If you've got a herding dog, it's going to want to herd, but you can use other things to work with that instinct so that they don't need to be running after livestock and they don't need to be running after people.
So in the last minute, Kathleen, I think you're quite clear in it. You believe this restricted breeds law doesn't work. So in a minute, what should be put in place?
I think restricted ownership is what should be put in place, to be honest. I think people need to be at a certain level. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I'm listening away, yep.
Sorry, I thought I lost you there for a second because I went quiet. I think people should be at a certain level of, it's like a driving licence. I think they should have to do a theory test. should have to do a practical test before they own those breeds that are on the restricted list, as everybody seems to target them. Everybody seems to be on about them. So if you're going to own one of those, I would suggest then you can prove that you can control and handle and train a dog like that, and that you understand their instincts, and that if something runs past them at a speed, they are going to chase it because that's their instinct. Because Rottweilers in particular are bred to herd cattle. They drive cattle, and what they do is, and they still are worked in Germany and other places as herding dogs, and if they run after them, they always nip at the back of their legs. They always grab them by the back of the legs to send the cattle forward, because cattle can be stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they don't want to move. So the dog goes in and catches them by the back of the leg to move them forward, and the cattle run on then, and then they herd them. But if you've got a dog that has those instincts but has no training, you've got a lethal weapon on your hands.
Right,
Kathleen, so that's where it goes on. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. I appreciate it. A very interesting conversation as always. Have a lovely day. That's Kathleen Murray, a dog behaviourist. Agree or disagree? 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Boost your brain function with Remind supplements. Visit Healthwise Pharmacies for the innovative Life Meter test. In just 1 minute, measure your carotenoid levels from a simple fingertip scan. Understanding your diet can help you take charge of your brain health. Remind's blend of carotenoids and omega-3 fatty acids supports normal brain function. Make an appointment today at Ballyrain and Dunlow Healthwise Pharmacies. Take the first step towards a healthier brain with Remind.
Find the sunshine at McElhenney's and Ballybuffet. Shop in store and discover thousands of discounted lines with at least 20% off. Purchase any eligible discounted product with the sunshine on it to be in with a chance of winning a holiday worth €1,500 in collaboration with Atlantic Travel Letterkenny. Don't miss out. Visit us in store at McElhenney's Ballybuffet and find your sunshine.
The Woodbury Grill Bar and Restaurant Arena 7, a family favourite in Letterkenny. Great menu choices with a warm welcome for all. You've got to visit the Woodbury Grill Bar and Restaurant. Check out arena7.ie for more information.
The Buncrana Golf Club development draw is here, with over €40,000 in prizes up for grabs. The grand prize is a stunning Hyundai i30 N-Line, plus 4 other fantastic prizes worth over €10,000. Tickets are available online at driveathomedraw.ie or from any club member. Don't miss your chance to win big and support Buncrana Golf Club. Get your tickets today.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. A strike by Aer Lingus pilots could affect flights as early as next week. Members of the Irish Airline Pilots Association may announce details of industrial action later today in a row over pay. Yesterday they voted by 99% in favour of industrial action as they look for pay increases of nearly 24%. They must give Aer Lingus at least 7 days' notice. Donald Moriarty, the Chief Corporate Affairs Officer with the airline, says industrial action will cause very significant disruption with flight cancellations.
To minimise that disruption for customers, and we'll communicate very clearly with them. But IALPA are determined to do it. It seems the last thing we want is disruption to our customers, but equally we can't be held to ransom by IALPA.
Garda are at the scene of an incident at Mondooey on the main Letterkenny to Lifford Road, close to Manor Cunningham. It's understood a lorry has gone off the road and jackknifed at the turn for Dromahal. Some diversions are in place in the area as efforts begin to clear it. Motorists are being advised to allow additional time for their journeys, with delays expected for a time. Cabinet Ministers are set to discuss a number of immigration measures this morning. An update is due on the EU Migration Pact, which will be debated in the Dáil and the Shannon this week. Meanwhile, the government has opened a tender for charter flights to deport failed asylum seekers. It's thought these flights could begin by the end of this year. Speaking before the Cabinet meeting, Taoiseach Micheál Martin said it's only strengthening laws that are already there.
Well, there's always been a situation where if you're not eligible, in many cases people left the country of their own volition, and they certainly were off the system. In other words, they weren't entitled to any allowances and weren't paid any allowances if somebody's asylum application failed and went through the appeal process and that failed. So that this is, in many respects, renewing what had been there many years ago.
A 50-year-old man is due before Derry Magistrates Court today, charged in connection with the discovery of a suspected firearm and a large quantity of drugs in Derry and Antrim. Searches were carried out in both areas yesterday as part of an operation. The man is charged with possessing ammunition and a firearm in suspicious circumstances and possessing a bladed article in a public place. Also possession of controlled drugs, as well as intent to supply a Class C controlled drug. A 58-year-old man also arrested as part of that investigation has been released on police bail pending further inquiries. A former Donegal local election candidate has been released from prison after failing to pay a COVID fine. 67-year-old Dr Anne McCloskey from Chapel Road in Derry was jailed last Wednesday for the unpaid £225 fine, according to BBC News NI. Having spent 2 days in Hyde Bank Prison, Dr McCloskey, who was running in the upcoming general election for Foyle, was released on Friday. The Stormont Assembly has been told almost half of Northern Ireland's family carers are living below the poverty line at a time when they're saving the economy millions. West Tyrone MLA Daniel McCrossan told the Assembly that carers' allowance is totally inadequate and it's vital that a carer's recognition payment be paid immediately. This, he said, would be the first step in what must be a process of bringing in a fairer and more equitable carers' allowance, which recognises the work that unpaid carers do on a regular basis.
Our carers are propping up the health and social care system and keeping Stormont's budget from collapse. They deserve better than a social security benefit that systematically traps them in poverty. Delivering the carers allowance recognition payment won't change that completely, but it is an important starting point, and there is a significant moral and financial case for the department to prioritise it during the rest of this Assembly mandate.
Police in Strabane are encouraging farmers to review their security to minimise their risk of becoming victims of crime. They're also urging anyone who notices suspicious activity in their area, especially in rural communities, to report it immediately. With more, here's Michaela Clark.
Following recent reports of sheep and cattle thefts in the northwest, farmers are being urged to report any suspicious vehicles to police, including registration numbers and a description of the vehicle. They're advised that criminals are always on the lookout for valuable items that can be easily sold on. Quads, trailers and other items of farm machinery, police say, should be kept locked away when not in use. Farmers are being asked to consider locking gates, using good quality padlocks at yards and on laneways to prevent unauthorised vehicle access, mark property, photograph machinery and use anti-theft systems such as security tagging and electronic tracking devices, in addition to wheel clamps and hitch locks. Police say farmers also need to give some thought to the security of their livestock, in addition to keeping records of stock numbers and making regular checks to ensure all is in order.
Weather forecast and Met Éireann tell us to expect a mostly cloudy day with a few light showers this morning, dry with sunny spells this afternoon and into this evening. Top temperatures today 13 to 15 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. Check all of today's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, have a very good morning.
The obituary notice says for this Tuesday morning, June the 18th. The death has taken place of Joe Doherty, 6 Melvin View, Strabane, reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:20 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 10 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers please to the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time please from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live at melmountparish.com. The death has taken place of Raymond Montgomery, Gorton of Verne, Coolboy, Letterkenny, reposing at his home from 5 o'clock this evening. Requiem Mass on Thursday morning at 11 o'clock in St Columba's Church, Kilmacrennan. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time from 10 o'clock until 11 o'clock. Family flowers only, donations if desired to Pieta House, care of any family member or Patrick Sweeney, Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Kathleen Katie Stewart, Cochin Derry Beg. Her remains are reposing at her home today from 11 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Rosary tonight at 8 o'clock. House private please after the rosary and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Derry Beg. Interment afterwards in Maharagallen Cemetery. The Funeral Mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has taken place of Myra Flood Brehe Ramelton, reposing at her home. Funeral service tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock in Ramelton Presbyterian Church. Burial afterwards in Bank Cemetery. Family flowers only, donations if desired to the Irish Wheelchair Association, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Marie Hughes, née O'Donnell, Turnagashog, Castlefin, remains reposing at her late residence. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow morning at 11:20 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Castlefin at 12 noon. Interment in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish Facebook page. Family time from 9 o'clock to 12 noon and on the morning of the funeral. The death has occurred of Rose Nealis, née Sheridan, 57 Hawthorne Heights, Letterkenny, and formerly Ballybowes, Creeslaw, reposing at the family home today from 12 noon to 9 o'clock with rosary at 9 o'clock tonight. Family time please on the morning of the funeral. Funeral to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny tomorrow morning for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed live on churchservices.tv, followed by burial in the family plot at New Leck Cemetery. The death has taken place of Margaret Maggie Sweeney, née McDermott, Ballybowes, Creeslaw. Her remains are reposing at her late residence in Ballybowes. Wake today and tomorrow from 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Funeral Mass in St Michael's Church, Creeslaw on Thursday at 12 noon. Burial afterwards in Doe Graveyard. Funeral Mass can be viewed on mcn.live. Family time please on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or James Harkin, Funeral Director. And the death has taken place of Sammy Porter, Maharaboy, Killygordon. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral leaving from there this afternoon at 1:30 for 2 o'clock funeral service in St Patrick's Church, Donoughmore, followed by burial in the family plot in the adjoining graveyard. Family time please before the funeral today. Family flowers only, donations in lieu to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, Funeral Director. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio. Go all Aldi with summer barbecue sizzlers, now only $2.99 each, including specially selected Black Angus reduced fat 6-ounce burgers was $3.79, now only $2.99. Plus, specially selected Black Angus Ultimate 6-ounce beef burgers, Butcher Selection quick cooked chicken fillets, and Butcher Selection pork belly strips were $3.49 each, now only $2.99 each. All Board B quality assured. Go all Aldi while stocks last.
Good morning again, or good morning for the first time. If you've just tuned in, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Coming up in about 7 or 8 minutes, we will have Garda Grania Doherty in with Community Garda information. So you can listen to that on the radio. If it suits you, if you're at home, you can watch it and the rest of the show as well on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, on your TV or your Fire Stick. On to some responses from you, the listeners, in relation to our conversation just before 10 with Kathleen and other matters as well. Kathleen is completely right. It's the person who owns the dog and how they teach it. A dog needs training. They need guidance. I'm not. I've had big dogs as well, by the way. They were around the house. I never had them out in public. But if you are walking in a park, and I've spoken to people that if it's a Rottweiler or an Alsatian, even if it's on a lead, not often muzzled, if the truth be told, some would say, that the person who does not own the dog can feel far more intimidated than if it were a cockapoo or something like that. There is that part of the conversation that needs to be had as well, or is that that's tough luck? That woman is wrong. All animals change as the environment changes. Indeed, a dog warden was on the radio there, and I mentioned it last week, saying that even dogs that have been never misbehaved at all in their lives, that if for some reason or other they mistake their owner, they have been known to turn on their owner as well. But I'm not sure how training a dog and can impact that. But that was the dog warden with 40 years experience. There's There has to be better regulation on dog breeding in Ireland. Temperament and early development is not considered by puppy farms or backyard breeders. This needs to be addressed before a ban is considered. That comes from Andy of Venture Dog Training in Ballybofey. Thanks very much, Andy, and maybe we might get a chat actually and get your perspective into the future. Kathleen is 100% right. It's about respect for the animals and respect for the people who fear dogs. Another, I think people approaching private property when there's dogs at large without the owner's permission are looking for trouble. Why continue to approach the dog on private property when it's barking at you? There are dogs, though, if you're out for a walk in the countryside that are on private property and they clearly have these collars that restrict their movement and they stand at the fence or they stand at the gate barking violently at you. Is that all right too? I mean, obviously they can't get at you, but I know of a couple of cases where they are quite big dogs and people choose not to use that route any longer. Greg, I don't agree with Kathleen about ban, but at the same time, I agree with what she says about owners. I saw a wee boy who looked about 10 on Saturday walking a large German Shepherd dog. Well, the dog was literally dragging him along. What chance had that child of holding that dog if he decided to chase? What responsible owner let that child out with that dog? Well, where's the enforcement there as well? Because clearly, I think a strong argument could be made that 10-year-old does not have effectual control of that dog, and the dog warden should be involved. But that was the weekend, so we have a problem there. My neighbour has a Great Dane. It's a fabulous dog, but it spends 23.5 hours a day in an 8-foot square compound. It's so inappropriate. That's no life for a dog, is it? If you have a dog, more checks need done on where it lives. You cannot take a child into your home without several welfare checks being done. Why is it not the same for a dog? Well, dogs and children are very different, but I take your point. I'm watching a young boy being dragged here by a dog on a lead that's the size of a small pony. If the dog was to pull away, the young boy would have no control over him. That's a couple along the same lines. Another, it's all well and good bringing in laws, but we've got nobody here to implement the laws. We need Garda and dog wardens. Yeah, there's an argument there too. By the way, just an update on the situation yesterday. Garda got a court order and the dog that was involved in that alleged attack has been lifted and remains in the pound at the moment. I presume it's future to be determined. Okay, before we take a break and welcome Garda Grania into studio, just to let you know that Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdarg Garden Centre is going to be joining us later on in the show to take your gardening questions. So hopefully now we can, kick on to a bit of a summer. It hasn't felt much like summer, has it? The rain's just not quite as cold as in the winter. But anyway, any questions from Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdarg Garden Centre? Get them into us right now. 08660 25,000. It could be fruit trees, bushes, hedges, lawns, inside planting, window pots, whatever it might be. Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdarg Garden Centre will be answering your questions later. So get them into us as soon as you can. To 08660 25,000, or give Caroline or Shannon a ring on 07491 25,000, and the email's there for you as well. Comments at highlandradio.com.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 18th of June. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S2. It's game number 25. The numbers are 6, 40, 32, 72, 3, 62, 78, 33, 8, and finally 74. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Have I got news for you? The Harvey's Point Cabaret is back. Every Wednesday in September and October, Eamon has gathered a galaxy of stars to captivate and entertain. A scrumptious dinner, fabulous entertainment, or a 2-night accommodation package. Harvey's Point Cabaret 074 972 2208 for an immediate reservation, or harveyspoint.com.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny Clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie. The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91260025.
Okay, you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show on this Tuesday. It is the 18th of June, and it's time for Community Garda information. And in studio with me today is Garda Grania Doherty, up from the Letterkenny Garda station. Good morning, Grania. Thanks for your time today, as always.
Good morning, Greg.
Great to have you in. Right, let's start with appeals. We've lots to get through today. And a reissuing of an appeal for, or renewing of an appeal for missing Stephen Boyle.
Yeah, Garda and Buncrana are renewing their appeal to the public for assistance in locating 15-year-old Stephen Boyle. He went missing on Saturday the 25th of May in Maharabeg, Burnfoot. Stephen is described as being 5 foot 7 inches tall. He has a medium build, brown hair and blue eyes. It's understood that he was wearing a black Nike hoodie and grey trousers at the time he went missing. Gardaí do believe that Stephen may have travelled to County Kildare, so this is a possibility. Anybody with any information on Stephen's current whereabouts are urged to contact Buncrana Garda Station on 932 0540. The Garda Confidential line either can be reached on 1800 666 111 or any Garda station. I believe you have a picture of Stephen there on your own social media, if people want to refer to that.
Indeed, and if you could share it too, because as Grania said, I mean, previously there was some suggestion he might have been across the border, now he may be down in Kildare. So in other words, the further this appeal can reach, the better.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Everything's a help.
Right, a burglary being investigated in Carragart.
Yes, so this burglary happened at the old rectory, so the people in that local area would probably be familiar with this building. It's a vacant building. It's in Carragart. This burglary happened between Wednesday the 5th of June and Wednesday the 12th of June. So a window on that window was smashed. Entry then is believed to have been gained through another window that had been boarded up. Graffiti was sprayed, quite a substantial amount of graffiti was sprayed inside this building, but nothing was stolen from it. So we're appealing to anybody who may have observed suspicious activity around the rectory, or any activity if it's a vacant building, and it has been vacant for quite some time, so it would have been quite odd to see anybody really in and around the grounds of it. So if anybody can assist with any information in relation to this, we ask them to contact Garda in Milford on 9153060, and as again the Garda Confidential line, as with all of our appeals.
A burglary in Meadowbank now in Letterkenny.
Yes, this burglary happened at another vacant property in Meadowbank Park, Letterkenny, on Friday the 14th of June between approximately 4 p.m. and 4:20 p.m. A man is believed to have entered the property. He stole copper and a gas cylinder from within. We're appealing to anybody who may have travelled in that area around the time with a dash cam to make that footage available to us. We're particularly interested in any sightings or dash cam footage of a black Passat that is believed to have been in the area around that time. Gardaí may be contacted in Letterkenny on 9167 100 with any information.
I don't know the nature of this incident or the motivation for it, but I presume, with a bit of building going on and what have you, copper still remains very expensive and an attractive item. We did see a spike in this going back a number of years, and it comes in waves. I suppose even if a house is empty, you have to make sure it's perfectly secure. Not referencing this incident, of course, but just a general piece of advice.
Yeah, of course. If anybody has a vacant property and has gas cylinders and copper, or amounts of steel or copper, as you said, there was a time when we were doing a lot of appeals in relation to building houses that were under construction, and this type of material was being stolen from them. So just in case that this is on the up again, we ask people with vacant properties to check their property regularly.
All right, we're going to Killybegs-ish now.
Yes, so this it's a criminal damage incident. So this happened to a car. It occurred at Meangilcarry, Killybegs. So that Meangilcarry is a townland, is between Killybegs and Ardra. This happened on Monday the 17th of June between 1:30am and 3am. A car was parked up at the owner's home. It was smashed up first and then set alight between those times. So we're appealing to anybody who may have travelled in that area with a dash cam at any stage between those times, so between 1:30am and 3am on 17th of June, to make contact with Gardaí, and if anybody has any relevant information that they can offer in relation to this incident, we ask them to contact Gardaí in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530.
Now, there was an incident of criminal damage in Buncrana.
Yeah, this incident also occurred in the early hours of a morning. It happened at Main Street, Buncrana, on Thursday the 13th of June between approximately 1:30am and 1:40am. So a man is believed to have punched a wing mirror of a car at that location and the glass smashed. So we're asking anybody, possibly even taxi drivers, I suppose at that time of the morning there mightn't be too much traffic about, but hopefully we might get somebody who had a dash cam that was in that area that might make that footage available to us. If anybody witnessed the incident also, we're asking them to contact Gardaí in Buncrana on 932 0540.
All right, let's get some questions that have come in. I've told the Gardaí about cattle on my ground. They say it's a civil matter and that they can't get involved. Is it my land? It is my land, sorry. They won't get involved, so how do I sort this?
Yeah, well, I do advise this caller to get in touch with the Department of Agriculture there in Raphoe. This matter should be reported to them. If the caller doesn't know who the cattle belong to, well, the best thing to do is to check maybe even one of the tag numbers of one of the cattle, and perhaps this person isn't familiar with farm animals, or maybe they're too wary to approach the animals. I'm sure they'd have a neighbour, a farmer, or somebody who would assist, or even the Department of Agriculture themselves might assist and send somebody out to check who does own the cattle. If they are aware of who the owner is, which is also a possibility, this information should also be passed to the department, but certainly the Department of Agriculture should be their port of call there.
And I know this person is directly affected by it, but if you sort of take a step back and think as to why this is not a criminal matter, it is quite clear that the Gardaí can't, with everything else they have to be doing, sort of policing people's private lands and other people's, private property on that land and what have you. It is a complex one. Second question here. My daughter-in-law had her car in a car park and it was damaged. Now, Gardaí went and got the CCTV and they found the person who did the damage, but they haven't done anything about it. They're saying that the guard in charge has left the station and that's why there's nothing being done about it. This was a number of years ago, but why aren't the Gardaí doing anything about it?
Well, look, as with any incident, I can't really comment on this particular incident as I'm not in possession of the full details of it. But I do know that if a guard is transferred from a station, the investigations, all of their investigations are always passed on to another guard. I mean, their investigations just don't stop because they've been transferred. So their investigations are always referred on to another guard in that station, to further investigate the matters. So I would ask this caller if they want to contact me in Letterkenny station on 9167100 and I'll look into the matter for them.
Which is a fantastic commitment on your behalf. Thanks very much for that, Grania. The Garda Reserve recruitment campaign is up and running.
It is, and listen, I don't want to go on too long. I know we mentioned this last week.
There's a lot of pages
also.
Here.
No. There's only a short bit here about the reserve, the Garda Reserve. Yeah,
yes.
But in Garda Síochána, we're inviting applications from those aged 18 to 60 to be a Garda Reserve. I know you were invited last week. But your name, was it yourself?
No, it was Donal.
It was Donal. Well, now
yeah.
We'll extend an invitation to you too if you have a bit of free time that you can. I know you have a few years left yet. It's up to age 60. So the Garda Reserve, it's often a stepping stone, and sometimes we do find that is the reason why a lot of people become a Garda Reserve is that maybe they have an interest in joining the Guards full time and they just want to kind of test the waters and see what it entails.
I think with the expansion of the ages as well, it catches in another group of people that maybe have an itch to scratch, try the reserves and then go on to it if you're within the age. Obviously, it's a younger age, isn't it, for the Garda than it is the reserves, but still 50, the extension of the age has brought a lot of people into it that thought the time had passed for them.
They did, of course, yeah. So yeah, they did. They extended the age to join the Guards itself to 50. So for those people, even the likes of this would be ideal. If they're unsure, maybe there are people pondering whether they want to put their name in to become a Guard full time. This would be a stepping stone, or it would be a taster for them just to see what it entails. So since our last campaign in 2017, over 80 Garda Reserves have gone on to train as full-time Gardaí. And of course, look, there's no obligation on you to go on and become a full-time Garda member either. there's plenty
of
people.
It's a stepping stone, as you mentioned.
It is, yeah. Well, if somebody wants to become a full-time guard, yeah, but sometimes people just are quite happy staying as a Garda reserve,
And do we use Garda reserves much in this county?
We do, yeah. We have a few very good people there that come in very regularly to help out at any big events. And the Donegal Rally now this coming weekend,
which we're going to talk about in a sec.
We will, yeah. So we'll have a lot of our own Garda reserves and also Garda reserves from other divisions coming to help out at the Donegal Rally this weekend.
So it bolsters the numbers.
It does, of course, yeah.
Frees up other Gardaí to do other work as well.
Yeah.
Time is closing. You have until 3 p.m. on July 4th if you want to apply for Garda reserves. And publicjobs.ie is the place to go. And also, you've info on the Facebook page.
We do our own Garda Síochána Donegal Facebook page. If anybody wants to go in there and find out further information, because I left it very brief today. But yeah, the closing date to apply is 4th of July at 3 p.m. publicjobs.ie, that's where you apply, but further information can be viewed on our Facebook page.
Okay, now it is a huge weekend, one of the biggest sporting weekends in our calendar up here, one of the biggest weekends in terms of I suppose the Garda operation. So talk to us about what's happening for the weekend from a Garda perspective.
I know it's hard to believe that it's that time again.
It's crazy.
It's hard to believe. My hips and my knees still haven't recovered from last year.
Well, your hips don't lie.
The hips don't lie. No, but we're busy making preparations for the Donegal International Rally. It's going to take place this coming weekend. Gardaí will be out in force this rally weekend. And as always, they will be applying a zero tolerance approach in relation to dangerous driving, drink and drug driving and bad driver behaviour in general. A high-speed sport such as the rally takes place in a controlled environment with the necessary protections in place, and this is important for people to remember. Every year, a small minority, and I have to stress that it is a very small minority, and they've no interest in the actual rally. They rock up to Letterkenny for the weekend or to surrounding towns, and they drive in a dangerous manner. They put all other road users at risk.
And they never see a stage of the rally often.
They don't. A lot of them don't go near the rally. They don't. But they come up, I suppose, for the crack and for the atmosphere of the weekend, and that's fine, and we welcome them to do that. But it's just, again, a small minority put their own lives at risk on the roads. They put other road users at risk on the roads. So we're just appealing to these people, if they value their licence, and I know a lot of them highly value their licence, they take great care of their cars, and driving is their life, a lot of them. So if they value their licence, they need to leave the rally driving to the rally competitors. They will be stopped, they will be prosecuted, cars will be seized over rally weekend as they are every year. So disruptive or antisocial behaviour besides the roads aspect, public order, drinking in the streets, fighting, antisocial behaviour of any sort won't be tolerated. And it's highly unfair too. The people in the local communities here around Letterkenny and also the surrounding towns, they shouldn't have to endure unnecessary disruption or any sort of misery as a result of these few people who are intent on causing misery. We're appealing to parents to ensure a lot of the people now coming to the rally, especially those who don't actually go to the rally stages but come for the crack for the weekend. They're young people, they're young teenagers, in their early 20s. We're appealing to parents. Please chat to your young people. Ensure that they have sufficient driving experience before they take to the roads this weekend. Please make sure their car is in a roadworthy condition. Speak to them ahead of the rally. Speak to them about road safety. We're constantly talking about road safety, and we can't stress the importance of it enough. But look, we were all young once, and you can't put an old head on young shoulders, and sometimes young people are easily influenced and they're highly impressionable.
You get caught up in it and you're trying to impress people.
And try and show off to their friends, and that's what happens. We understand that. And it causes, I suppose, a lot of parents worry too when their young people set off for rally weekend. But just please have an honest chat with them beforehand and explain your anxieties and your worries to them. Explain to them that you want them home in one piece. If we want to speak to people too about the dangers of not wearing a seatbelt. Speeding, speed checks will be conducted over the course of the rally weekend. We will be checking that everybody's wearing their seatbelt. Driving under the influence, there will be MIT checkpoints. They'll be testing for drugs in the system, alcohol in the system. Driving dangerously or getting in the car with someone who is under the influence, that's an important one also. Please speak to your young people. If they're coming to the rally and they're not a driver themselves, speak to them about the danger of getting into a car. One of your mates, if they're driving dangerously, if they're diffing at crossroads or donutting or whatever they're doing, if they're, they've taken drugs, if you know that they have alcohol in their system, please speak to your young people. Tell them not to get into that car. And if they feel afraid, if they're in a car and they feel the driver's driving dangerously and they feel at risk, just tell them to get out. Stress the importance to them of getting out.
Don't overload cars either.
Don't overload cars either, no. Look, we're hoping there's going to be a guard at everywhere they turn this weekend. We have extra numbers coming up from down the country, Garda reserves and Garda members. So hopefully there will be yellow jackets highly visible. There will be checkpoints visible and speed checks visible. And we're hoping that everybody enjoys the rally weekend. I know I'm doing a lot of giving out here, so I'll say something nice.
Well, it's not really. I think, I think it's fair, because you said right from the get-go, Grania, this is a very small minority.
It is, yeah.
No one spoils sports or what have you. But, the disruption that can be caused by this small group of people who are gone, done and dusted off and down the country again later on, it has to be highlighted as well, out of respect for the everyday inhabitants as well. And also, really, what this comes down to is that we're not dealing with a serious injury or fatality or something along those lines. This is about preventing a family having to get that knock at the door.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean? That's what it really all boils down to, and we don't want anyone to have that. And really, too, as well, young people to really conscious, you certainly never ever drink and drive. Drugs are illegal. A lot of people take drugs. They behave in your system and stay in your system different to alcohol. So, as I'm not talking about it or justifying it or anything, but there's going to be an awful lot of checkpoints around today. You might think it was 2 days ago or 3 days ago. You could lose your license big time. The exact same as if you were drink driving almost, if you know what I mean. That's not a Garda message, by the way. I'm just saying that.
No, exactly.
But it behaves in your body, your system differently. Don't sacrifice your license. Preferably don't take drugs.
Exactly, yeah. Well, look, and we're not total killjoys. We want people to enjoy Donegal. Donegal has a lot to offer, so we want people to enjoy their stay in Donegal when they're here. We hope they have a safe stay. We hope that they have a very memorable trip. And as you say, nobody wants to get that knock at the door, and that's what we want to prevent. We don't want any serious injury collisions on the road or any fatalities on the road this weekend. And the rally brings so many positives to the county. And as you said, we do want to emphasise again, it is only a very, very small minority who attend every year, who end up getting in bother. And we will this year, no more than any other year, we will have that minority again who will end up in the Garda station, unfortunately, because of their poor behaviour on and off the roads over the course of the weekend.
Now, people will say, well, I spotted this or heard that, or people are doing this in my area and there's dangerous driving ongoing. Or if people want to contact Gardaí in anything, in relation to anything over the rally weekend, those calls are welcome.
Of course, yeah. So, look, I'll give out the numbers just as usual for our 24/7 Garda stations in Donegal. Letterkenny is 9167100. Ballyshannon 071 985 8530. Milford 9153060 or 9153060, yeah, and Buncrana 9320540. Please don't hesitate to call us if you need our assistance at any stage over the weekend. And as always, if it's an emergency, contact 999 or 112. And we hope that everybody has a lovely weekend. As I said, we're not killjoys. We're not there to spoil anybody's fun.
Most young people are fantastic. And their cars look brilliant. And they look after them, and they spit and polish them, and they look absolutely amazing. It's just the minority. Do we know is there going to be the capacity to bring people before courts in a special circumstance?
There will, of course. That's the same every rally weekend. Yeah, there's always special sittings of court. Yeah, and we'll be there in a community engagement capacity also. I mean, we're not there to hammer the law all the time. There will be the roads policing units out. There will be the checkpoints, the speed checks, but we're there too, and the guards out on the beat. We're there to engage with people, to have a bit of fun, have a bit of chat with them, and we would encourage people also, if they see us in the street, we're not the enemy. Come over and chat to us.
Really?
Well,
Ewan Walsh, have you ever seen him? Would you go over and say hello to him?
Well,
actually, he's always, in fairness to Ewan and the rest of the team, they always do have a smile on the face. I know what you're saying. Engage with them. Don't see them as the enemy.
Yeah, and just if you see us in the beat and you have any issues or questions, please do come up. Look, we enjoy the crack and we want to have a chat with people. And there'll be plenty of guards out on the beat, round the town, out round the environs of Letterkenny. And don't feel afraid of us. Come over and chat to us, because we want to engage and have the crack also.
So, excellent. Last Tuesday, I'm off. I don't take many Tuesdays off. And listening to the radio, and Donald's, and we're joined in studio now by Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson. Every Tuesday I'm off.
She plans it well.
How is that? Did Caroline say Greg's off, by the way? You can get her down from Buncrana.
Yeah, and it wasn't a bank holiday either, because usually if it's a bank holiday you can nearly time it, but you took a random Tuesday off, so she did well that time.
Exactly. I'm starting to feel paranoid Right, okay, brilliant stuff. And just to let people know that there's tons of information and updates on the Garda Síochána Facebook page. It's not there to report serious instances or anything like that there. That's 999 if you need Gardaí. In an emergency situation, but it is a fantastic resource to get information of, even direct young people to it, to reiterate some of what we've been talking. There's lots of information there and details on that missing persons and also the Garda Reserve and other things like that there. So Donegal, Garda Síochána Donegal. Thanks very much, Grania, as always. Really do appreciate it. That will be up for you to rewatch or listen back to on our socials and on Garda Síochána Facebook page a little later on. And it'll be back with you live next Tuesday, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can all have fun, bring lots of money into the county, and lots of fun. And hopefully, this time next week, we're able to reflect on a hugely fun and entertaining and safe rally weekend. Isn't that what we want, Grania? Yeah. That's all people want. All right, back shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
With over 1,000 TFI Local Link door-to-door services nationwide, if you're on our route, we're on our way. To use the service, simply pre-book the day before you want to travel with your TFI Local Link office. To find out more about door-to-door services in your area, visit transportforireland.ie. We're Transport for Ireland. We're transport for you.
Hello, my name's Enda Walsh, and I'm a dairy farmer from Ormore, County Galway. In Ireland, we're always looking for a better cow. A cow that's healthier, happier and longer lived. A cow that gives us more milk of a higher quality with specific health benefits. A cow that has a lower carbon footprint. We're finding that better cow through our world-leading breeding programs based on years of science and research. I'm speaking on behalf of the National Dairy Council, everyone's dairy.
Bring on summer with instant savings at Dunnes Stores. Spend €20 or more in-store on fashion or home and we'll treat you to a 5 off 25 voucher. You can spend instantly on groceries. Shop the latest trends in fashion and then head straight to our food hall to save on summer picnic essentials. Buy some stylish luggage and homewares, then pop to the grocery aisles to stock up on travel-sized toiletries for less. Saving this summer couldn't be simpler. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Now, going to stay with the road safety theme that we finished off Community Garda information with. We're going to talk now to David Martin, who's Communications Manager with the Road Safety Authority. David, thanks for your time today.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm fine. Quite taken aback that we are going backwards in, one of the fundamentals of road safety, and that's the wearing or non-wearing of seat belts. And unfortunately, we are regressing, it seems.
We are indeed, and I'm as surprised as you are on that. We conducted a major survey back end of last year, around September and October of last year, what we call an observational study, and we set up sites across the country, 157 sites across the 26 counties in the Republic of Ireland, and we looked at whether people and the passengers or whether the drivers are wearing their seat belts or not. This is a study that we've done every year since 2006, and look, what we've seen, in particularly in recent years, is historically, we're up at around touching on 100%. But in 2023, we saw the numbers drop quite alarmingly, and so front seat passengers had dropped down from 99% to 94%, and drivers were down 4% to 95%. So that means 1 in 20 drivers are not wearing the seatbelt, and it's a similar kind of figure for front seat passengers.
And it's kind of even more worrying on our rural roads.
Indeed, there's the adherence to wearing seatbelts is actually poorer on the rural roads, and it's a major problem. What we have found is in between 2019 and 2023, we saw that a lot of 22% of people who were killed on the roads had not been wearing a seatbelt. So that's disproportionately high. If you think that only 5%, if 95, 96, 97% of people are wearing them, you see it's the people not wearing them who are getting killed on the roads. And we know that this is more prevalent on
just to be really
roads
clear with that, because it's quite an
urban
interesting point you made in relation to the percentages. What that effectively means, and you said it quite clearly yourself, but just to reiterate the importance of this, in fatal road traffic collisions in the period you mentioned, 22% were not wearing seatbelts. So that means those not wearing a seatbelt are way overrepresented in the total amount of people that have died on our roads. So in other words, what we have is somewhere between 1% and 4% of people in cars equating to 1 in 5 deaths. I mean, that's
exactly. So you're just disproportionately, more likely to be killed or seriously injured if you're not wearing a seatbelt. And it is such a no-brainer. I'm around long enough to remember the 80s when people wouldn't have seatbelts in the back seats or whatever. But it became almost a universal thing that people would put on their seatbelts. They just did it without thinking, and that's been very much the case up till last year, to be honest. And we've seen a regression back to numbers the numbers are back to where we were in 2016 and 2018.
I think what was a great driver, David, for the wearing of seatbelts was education in school. And children coming out of the school and getting into the car and putting their seatbelt on and say, "Mommy, Daddy, it's really important that you put your seatbelt on. We were told that in school today." You could never factor precisely the impact of that, but I think that's really important. If we're looking at where the gaps are, I think definitely in schools and sort of get the younger ones to put the pressure on mums and dads and the drivers would be really useful.
And I've got kids of my own, and they're teenagers now. But I know that they kept an eye on me, particularly my daughter. Which is great. And they've been indoctrinated in a good way towards safe driving and safe road use. I think one thing it's worth noting as well is that the decline in use of seatbelts is also coincides with other dangerous behaviours that we've seen probably since COVID. So we've seen an alarming increase in speeding and drink and drug driving and distracted driving, people using their mobile phones. So there's a problem on the road there that I think everybody acknowledges at the moment, and that's reflected in the number of fatalities that we're seeing on the road. The numbers, again, are up this year compared to last year, which, again, itself was a bad year. So there have been 86 people killed on the road this year, 8 more than the corresponding period last year. So we do have a problem.
And the unreported figure of often as well is, and there is a ratio, and I can't recall off the top of my head what it is but those that suffer very serious injury, life-changing injuries, they end up with limps, bad backs, broken backs, losing limbs, losing eyes, getting hit on the head to the point whereby it changes their mood, or how they function. Obviously the headline figure is and always will be the fatalities, but it doesn't at all paint the picture of the lives that are changed in collisions and crashes.
You're right. There is a rule of thumb as well that for every fatality there's 10 serious injuries. So you're absolutely on the button there.
That's almost 1,000 people effectively that have been very seriously injured, to use that ratio.
Exactly. So, it's a killer behavior not wearing your seatbelt. It's also a selfish behavior because, if you don't put them on, you're going to affect other people in the vehicle as well. As an unbelted person, you can seriously injure others in the collision. So, it's not just yourself that you're going to cause damage to. You're going to cause damage to your fellow passengers and your friends.
But David, obviously, in this day and age, the majority of vehicles now will have some sort of a warning bell, certainly in the front seats, if not in the rear seats.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this data won't sort of tell us the demographics, or are people actively circumventing? Are they pulling over the passenger seatbelt and plugging it into the driver's side? Are they just getting the little, from a scrapyard? Are they going and just getting the little plugs that plug into the seatbelt holder?
speculate. As I said, we observed 24,000. This is based on 24,000 observations across the country. We don't know the rationale for not wearing them. You're right, the more modern cars, and I know mine, which isn't a particularly modern car, will send out an alarm if you're not wearing it. So, hopefully we'll see that, that will become universal, and that, it is very, very irritating, so it will encourage people to put their seatbelts on.
Okay, again, it's not Big Brother, or it's not an overreach by the state. This is literally about saving lives and serious injury, and we know,
exactly.
Just to recap, over 1 in 5 people who've been killed on our roads were not wearing a seatbelt, which is a percentage of those in vehicles of anywhere between 1 and 4 and 5%. Completely
correct.
A massive overrepresentation there. David, thanks for helping us hopefully drive that home, pun intended. David Martin, Communications Manager with the Road Safety Authority. I don't understand why people don't wear seatbelts. I'm not a goody two-shoes, by the way. I hope I don't come across as that, especially with the last 2 items. But it's just, I just really want to avoid any families being ripped apart or losing loved ones. Unfortunately, crashes and collisions do happen. They will happen. We never know. Often we get dragged into it. It's somebody else maybe that's made the mistake. But you need your seatbelt on to give you the best chance of avoiding that serious injury and certainly death as well. Okay, just to let you know that, to remind you, Paul McLaughlin, Ballochder Garden Centre, is coming up after 11 answering your gardening questions. Charlie McGinley, a regular watcher, he's normally watching us in Scotland. He's back in Donegal for a few weeks. Could you please put the big golden ball in the sky? I'm going to throw it up there for you a little bit this afternoon, much more tomorrow. And we'll see what I can do for you for Sunday. I think Sunday, I might be able to do something for you Sunday, Charlie. And in between now and then, you'll see very little rain. So stop your moaning. Okay. Question for Joe McHugh. Can anything be done for teaching principals of schools to reduce the amount of administration? There is the same expectation on principals regardless of the amount of students in the school. Interesting comment there. And if there is a principal that wants to talk a little bit more about that, please, get in touch. Right, let me take a break. We'll come back with the weather and then more on the 9 till noon show.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
An nóméid nuair a fuair tú an deasca.
Rob, fuair tú áitear an banna.
Nuair a chuir na buachailí tú leis an grúpa. Ag cailliúint incitá an mhuith. Ag a ábhairt ar an cluichí clásica agus ag fálam clasa nua. A chumáint hiag an cluiche is smúda de héal. Ag do bhám. Agus an sin, tagann tú ar an borg sa céige héanú nóméid. Is iad na mhain nóméid de waran ar fean tail. Críomh comórtas muoinar CLG Electric Ireland. Is rud mór é seo.
For over 125 years, Donegal Creamery's milk has been brought to you daily from our dairy at Crossroads, Killygordon, the longest established creamery in the region. By choosing Donegal Creamery's milk, you're supporting local jobs, local families, and over 200 dairy farming families across Donegal in doing what they do best. Producing delicious fresh milk daily. Donegal Creamery's milk. Donegal's milk since 1899.
If you know the beauty and skincare product that suits you best, you'll find them at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From moisturisers, cleansers and toners to day creams and night creams, McGee's have the top brands you know and love, like Lancôme, Clarins and La Roche-Posay. Also Elizabeth Arden, Vichy, Nukes and many more. All at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
We're all living with climate change. Now more than ever, we need to make sure our climate actions work. For families, communities, farms and businesses. The Climate Conversations invites you to have your say on how climate actions can work in your community, feeding into our National Climate Action Plan. Join the National Climate Conversation. Search Climate Conversations 2024 to have your say. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhinney's. With over 50 years of serving the community in Donegal, McElhinney's is proud to be part of every moment, big and small. Support local, shop McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
Okay, so as we head into the afternoon, it'll be dry with sunny spells for the afternoon and indeed the evening. Highest temperatures 13 to 15 degrees, so still a wee bit chilly, but in any direct sunlight it's going to feel much warmer. The weather doesn't affect the strength of the sun at this time of year. Winds will be moderate and from a northerly direction. Hi Greg, yet another attack by a potential killer dog on our own peninsula. Approximately 2 weeks ago, since a young woman was savaged to death in Limerick, followed by on Garda killing 2 dogs in an attack in Cork. Had the victim in Muff been a child, we could be facing yet another fatality, but all is not lost. Minister Humphreys is still sitting on her hands waiting on that report. Well, let's stay with that and go to Councillor Paul Canning, who was listening to our conversation about dogs. Hi Paul, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, you're coming through loud and clear, Paul. So you were listening to the conversation about dogs. What's your input?
Yeah, well, my situation is somewhat different to a lot of people because a lot of people are aware that I have a daughter that suffers with OA, which is brittle bone disease, and the problem we have is myself and Stephanie and Vanessa, we even head to a park or a beach and there's dogs running about it all. We don't even get out of the car because if the dog jumps up on top of her, knocks her over, that's a leg break or an arm break or, and the dog's not supposed to know the situation with her, but that's her personal situation, and it's at times there, even in a shop or whatever, if she was going to the shop, she drives now, and if she was going to the shop herself, and she pulled in fairly close to the shop and there was a dog running about, she would actually phone me to say, Daddy, there's a dog here, what do I do, And you take these things for granted at times, but when people have that type of disability, it's not easy at times, and especially then it makes it more difficult. And listen, I have no problem with dogs, but that's her situation. That's a personal situation with her,
Yeah, and how often might you go to the beach and there are dogs running around off leads? Is that more often than not, or?
It is, yeah. We just, if we just don't bother anymore because we know that there is going to be dogs running about. And listen, the dog is only jumping up for the purpose of being friendly, but the dog doesn't know. And so we bit like your earlier conversation, it's a trained dog. I know you can't train a dog to things like that, but there is situations where there should be areas where there shouldn't be, and to allow the likes of people like Vanessa or
as you mentioned,
people with different.
Vanessa has OI, and for that particular reason doesn't want a dog jumping up on her. But I mean, I don't think any of us either, Paul, really wants someone else's dog jumping up on us. Obviously, the risk is far greater to Vanessa, and I'm not taking away from that. Don't get me wrong, but who wants someone else's dog jumping up on them for any reason whatsoever?
Yeah, especially some of the fashion now with everybody with their white clothes and that, they definitely don't want a dog jumping up. But no, there's a lot of people, the larger dog, people don't want dogs jumping up on them, and it's a situation with the dog owner, they find it then, oh, well, why not? You know what I mean? The dog's only been friendly. And then there's that wee bit of animosity creeps in, but that's the situation. So we don't even put her in that position, or she doesn't want to be in that position. So she just refrains from going to walk in the park or whatever.
And Paul, from a council perspective, I mean, what needs to be done here? Look, there are dog wardens here. It's not on them. They've an awful lot of responsibility stretched on a massive county from the Finn Valley to Burton Port, to the islands actually, in fact, from Bundoran up to Malin Head. This is coming up time and time again. The rules and regulations are there. What is absent is the enforcement. I mean, do we need to be doing more as a county for someone who doesn't properly control their dog, that they might actually fear that they could get a fine? Do you know what I mean? In terms of littering and dog fines, we're really the poorer cousin in terms of enforcement here, I think.
Yeah, very much so. We are the poorer cousin, because the situation is if you go to a dog warden, they're more concerned with the welfare of the animal as to the actual the owners' lack of working with it, or lack of respect, or lack of responsibility. So it's the owner that needs to get targeted, for a better word, and how you manage that, or how you do that, because you're well aware of the amount of dog filing and items like that is going on, and we can't seem to. We put up signs. There is responsible dog owners, but there is 2 or 3 that just has no regard to any rules.
And I think we all have a role in raising. We've all a role in raising this issue, Paul. But I think responsible dog owners, who make up the vast majority, should be screaming the loudest, because it's their fellow irresponsible dog owners that are tarring everyone with the same brush. And we're trying not to do that on this programme. But invariably, in people's minds, they might see all dog owners in the same light. That's clearly not the case. The overwhelming majority of dog owners are loving, very loving and very caring and very responsible. And I think they are the ones that maybe should be as angry as anyone at this small minority who are giving everyone a bad name.
Yeah, that's you're 100% right. That's the situation. Can you hear me there? Yeah.
Yep, indeed. But listen, we're heading to the news anyway, Paul. But thank you very much for your contribution. There's a bit of interference on the line, but we got your point there. That's Councillor Paul Canning, and it's just an insight how a family can be extra conscious of dogs of all sizes, but particular bigger dogs running in public on the likes of beaches and what have you, and the danger they can pose to people with the likes of people with OI like Vanessa. Okay, back with the news in a sec.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Is é isce an Fontas Náisiúnta Isce na Héireann. Tá isce an freigrach as isce ó Feibli Náisiúnta a chomhláthair de Éireann. Isce tá dlán, sa báilte agus on taofa. De bhreise sin tá sé freigrach as servicí faoil isce a chur fáil don tír. Maidir le haon cheis faoi servicí nó chun aibe a cheantar thir isciú, is féidir dul deagháil le Hisce Héireann 24 uair sa lá, 7 lá na seachtaine. Ag 1 8 9 9 2 7 8 2 7 8. Isce Éireann. Ag soláthar servicí isce de Éireann.
Be a winner and view the trophy collection at Brian McCormick Sports. Full colour awards, glass and crystal, perpetual cups and shields, sports awards, metal cups and medals. Whatever the occasion, click bmcsports.ie. Budget medals for sports days with personalised inserts to promote your club and school. Full engraving service available at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Foy & Company in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny are the largest stockists of paint and wallpapers in the Northwest. Our qualified colour consultants and interior design team will help you create a beautiful space designed for your needs. We work with commercial and residential customers, have all the largest brands and can match any colour. We stock all the interior and exterior paint along with all the painting accessories you'll need to completely transform your space at Foy & Company in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet.
Coming this year to Dublin for the very first time. 71 shows completely sold out. Hamilton at the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre. Experience the revolutionary musical that's taken the world by storm. Witness history come alive with electrifying performances and unforgettable music with a modern twist. Book your place now on the outlet at highlandradio.com or call us on 074 91 25,000. With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It is 11 o'clock, time for a news update, and it's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A dog has been seized after a man was seriously injured in an attack in Inishowen on Sunday morning. The man in his 20s was rushed to hospital after being bitten by what is believed to be a Rottweiler while running on the muff to Quigley's Point Greenway. Garda say investigations are continuing. Garda, meanwhile, have renewed their appeal for information on the whereabouts of a 15-year-old who has been missing from South Inishowen for just over 3 weeks. Garda believes Stephen Boyle may have travelled to Kildare. Garda are warning that they will be adopting a zero-tolerance approach at this Donegal rally weekend again. As is the case in previous years, they will be out in force targeting dangerous driving, drink and drug driving and bad driver behaviour. Additional Gardaí are being deployed to the county over the coming days. Cabinet ministers are set to discuss a number of immigration measures this morning. An update is due on the EU Migration Pact, which will be debated in the Dáil and Shannon this week. Meanwhile, the government has opened a tender for charter flights to deport field asylum seekers. It's thought these flights could begin by the end of this year. A woman has been arrested by Gardaí investigating fraudulent driver learner permits. During a number of search operations, members of the National Economic Crime Bureau identified 124 impersonation incidents, which resulted in 114 third parties applying for and successfully getting permits. In some cases, people paid up to €2,500 for the services of an impersonator. Investigations are ongoing after a car was set on fire in Killybegs in the early hours of yesterday morning. Between 1:30 and 3 a.m, a car parked at Mingilcarry was smashed and set alight. Meanwhile, a car was also damaged in Buncrana. Between 1:30 and 1:40 a.m. on Thursday last, a man punched the wing mirror of a car parked at Main Street, causing the glass to shatter. Gardaí are appealing for information in relation to burglaries at vacant properties in Letterkenny and Carrigart. On Friday last, a man entered a vacant property in Meadowbank Park, Letterkenny between 4 and 4:20 p.m. and stole a gas cylinder. Gardaí are particularly interested in any sightings of a black Passat in the area. In Carrigart, the old rectory was broken into at some stage between Wednesday, June the 5th and Wednesday, June the 12th. Nothing was taken, but graffiti was sprayed inside the vacant building. And police in Strabane are encouraging farmers to review their security to minimise their risk of becoming a victim of crime. They're also urging anyone who notices any suspicious activity in their area, especially in rural communities, to report it immediately. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
And that update at 12 noon will include something I know that you don't know.
What?
Eamon Ryan stepping down as the Green Party leader.
Is he?
He is indeed. Yeah, he's going to announce it later after the cabinet meeting.
But you've got him before.
I have, yes. So sorry about that,
there
Eamon.
You go.
I've stolen your thunder. No, he's going to step down later. So it'll be interesting to see what the analysis of that is. All right, okay. Thank you very much, Michaela Clark. That news just emerging as Michaela was on air. We'll be back with more after a really short break. Stay where you are.
I wanted to open a restaurant. Streaming exclusively on Disney Plus.
What will we call this place?
The Emmy Award-winning series FX's The Bear.
We're gonna get a star.
Is back for a brand new season.
If any food critics come in, it's code red.
They're going too slow.
You need to calm down. This is a dysfunctional kitchen.
Show me a functional one. Don't miss FX's The Bear.
This is what's up now.
New season streaming soon, exclusively on Disney Plus. 18 plus subscription required. T's and C's apply.
Now, the phone lines remain open for you, of course, throughout the morning. 08660 25,000. If you're listening on the podcast, by the way, you can still get in touch with us. Email comments at highlandradio.com. Or if you are listening overnight as well. Very important, listeners. We love you listening during the night for those on different shifts or perhaps don't sleep as well as others. You can always contact us 08660 25,000 or email comments at highlandradio.com. All right, okay. Let's see. Loads of you texting in. We'll get some reaction, hopefully before 12, to the news that Eamon Ryan is stepping down. He's going to announce later that he's stepping down as leader of the Green Party. He hasn't outlined his reasons, of course, because he hasn't made the announcement yet. Joanna Da Silva joins us on the programme now. Hi, Joanna.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us. Right, we're talking in the context of... Joanna is Chief Specialist in Nutrition with Safe Food. And Safe Food has launched a new 5-year public health campaign aimed at tackling obesity and, of course, protecting children's health. So, Joanna, good morning again. And what is going to happen over the next 5 years? And maybe even start by talking of the issues that this is trying to address.
So this campaign is really focusing on the food environment, all those spaces where we see food, where we make decisions about food and how food is promoted to us online by broadcasting and public transport. If we are waiting in a bus shelter and we see an advertisement to food, That has changed over the last few years. The food environment that we live in is completely different to what our parents and our grandparents did in the past. And it's not a good one. It's unhealthy. It promotes unhealthy foods that are high in fat, sugar, and salt. It affects our health. It affects the health of our children. So we need to shape it. We need to change it for better. We are doing very good things. The sugar tax is an example. We are providing school meals to a lot of children in primary schools in Ireland, but we need to do more. We cannot accept the current food environment that we have for our children.
And in terms of the information that children absorb, look, through advertising is really complex. There's a lot of thought and planning and data that goes into it. It's not ad hoc. It's targeted. It's very easy, I suppose, to target advertising through social media because they know everything about us, but also in the TV and radio, they know when certain demographics are listening. And the bottom line is from a very young age, children have massive brand awareness and knowledge and perhaps consumption of unhealthy food.
They can recognize logos and link those logos to certain types of foods before they know their ABCs, you know. So industry is very smart in the way that they are doing this. So we need more regulation in relation to how food is advertising. The good news is we are doing some good work. We also can learn from what other countries are doing. Portugal did really well in relation to online marketing of unhealthy foods. Across the water, England has introduced legislation in relation to what foods can be promoted and how foods should be placed in the supermarket. Because again, the way that the supermarkets and the convenience stores are laid out do not make it easy for us to make the healthier choice. It's you know what faces you by the till. You know what products you see by the end of the aisle. You know what products get the premium spots. So addressing that is very important too. It's also important to highlight that things become more difficult in less affluent areas, you know. The number of takeaways and Dublin City Council did lovely work recently, and they looked at the number of takeaways in different areas, and less affluent areas have more takeaways for unhealthy foods and less access to supermarkets.
And we're starting really from a disadvantaged position because, particularly for younger people, you have to almost disregard many of the advertisements you see if you want to eat healthy because you're pushed on healthy food. 1,000 ads for healthy food children see every year. And B, you sort of have to root around in your local supermarket and even more so in your convenience shop for healthy options. You know what I mean? That's an awful lot. That's an awful lot, isn't it?
It's very difficult. I took the train this morning. I'm working in Dublin today, and I took the train to Euston, and I wanted something for breakfast. And I'm pretty sure there was a good sandwich somewhere. I had this conversation with one of your colleagues earlier, but I could only smell pastry, and I could only see foods that weren't really the best option for my breakfast. It makes it really hard on all of us to make those choices. And the public want this. We want change. Safe Food did research in the past in relation to how we could accept policies to address obesity and to support better choices. And we want this. So now is the moment to change. Now is the moment to talk about this. Look around today, see how your food environment is looking like. And ask your listeners to do the same.
And Joanna, listen, we all want the best for our children and for all children. So let's talk about the nutritional side of this because, you know, and we're going to be talking to a gardener later, right? And someone might say, you know, I want to grow a tomato plant. How do I do that? And the soil, you know, you have to have new soil. You have to have tomato food. You don't want to water it too much. You have to, you know, give specific care to produce the ripest, juiciest tomatoes. And it's kind of the same with our children, isn't it? If we're serving an awful lot of brown food on big plates, you know, where are they pulling the nutrients from that food for bone development, brain development, eyesight development, so that they can grow to their height potential? You know, we really need to sort of start seeing the connection between what's going into them and what's outputted as a result.
Of course, and their right to health, their right to to a healthy diet. And when these foods are being consumed, they are displacing important nutrients for development, for growth. Now, one of the good programs in Ireland is the funded school meals program, and there is commitment from the Department of Social Protection in relation to providing a free school meal to every child in primary school by 2030. So it's important to highlight the very good policies that are already in place and in development, but at the same time to acknowledge that we need to do more.
Yeah, and it's a funny world we live in at the moment because, you know, we talk about obesity and carrying weight, and then obviously, you know, what as well as the messaging that you're talking of, there's another messaging really is that's the body positive messaging, right? Whereby, you know, you can be who you want to be. You see the adverts for underarm moisturizing cream, anything like that there. You know, you could argue that actually people who are overweight are actually more represented than people that are not. I wonder, is that another thing that's coming at another direction? So we're being fed all this stuff through adverts and what have you that tells that you know is bad for us and promotes obesity, and then we're getting it from another area of advertising which tells us that, you know, it doesn't matter if what weight you are, you can ice dance and you can do gymnastics and you can take I'm not saying you can't do that, don't get me wrong, Joanna, but I'm kind of trying to sort of address the overall messaging in terms of
so Greg, there's a few things there. First of all, we all live in different bodies. Our bodies have different sizes and shapes. Obesity is a chronic relapsing disease. It's no one's fault. This is about health, and food-related health or ill health includes many things, including type 2 diabetes or certain types of cancer, for example. So we need to make that very, very clear. We're talking about health. We're not just talking about obesity. Obesity is a condition that needs to be treated in a clinical context.
Okay, so just be clear, but so if there's a 10-year-old who is a stone and a half or 2 stone overweight, you're saying that they're not necessarily unhealthy?
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is that that child needs to be seen by their clinician. This is a public health campaign that is promoting healthier food environments for everyone, for people living in every type of shaped bodies, big, larger, smaller, taller, shorter. This is not something to treat any clinical condition like obesity or like diabetes, for example. This is about preventing and promoting healthier behaviors.
Yeah, I understand, and I understand it's not about judging people, and I certainly wouldn't be judging people, but you've got it from every angle. If you're a young person, you're being told that you should eat all this crap food, and then you've been told as well that if you happen to become overweight, that's grand, just be you. And then somewhere in between, Joanna, you're saying, well, you and others are saying, you need to be healthy. And we're tiptoeing around all the language and all the different things, but hopefully that doesn't hinder getting to where we need to get over the next 5 years.
No. And regardless of the type of body that we live in, we should live in or the food environment that surrounds us should be supportive of healthier choices. Mm-hmm. And that's the main point of this campaign. It shouldn't be difficult for yourself or for myself or for our children to go into a space where food is sold and to make the right decision, regardless of our body shape or their body shape.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, that's fine. All right, thanks very much, Joanna. Where is more information available? Presumably we could go to Safe Food. Are there resources there?
You can go to the Safe Food website, and your listeners could also follow us on social media. We're very active on every social media channel.
Lovely stuff. Thank you so much. Lovely to speak to you. I do appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Bye. That's Joanna De Silva, Chief Specialist in Nutrition, Safe Food. My GP's not quite as is not quite as linguistic in saying very clear to me, you need to lose 1.5 stone. And I says, what? He says, yeah, look. And he pointed at my belly, 1.5 stone, you need to lose it. Because if you don't, you're risking high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke, and other cancer, and I thought I went in there feeling quite good about myself. Right, okay, that's Joanna De Silva, Chief Specialist in Nutrition, Safe Food. Rightio. Good morning. Could you please ask your presenter why during the Garda slot, and specifically talk around the rally, as to why no mention was made about the traffic management around Letterkenny over the weekend, given the issues with traffic lights, etc.? Morning, Greg. Do you know what road closures on Saturday? Is Old Town Road closed that leads onto the dual carriageway? Thanks. Another, can the Guards stop official rally cars doing time trials in the special areas of conservation on the R254 in Glenveigh National Park? They block the public's road. Well, thank you for all of those. To be clear, obviously, Community Guard information is on Tuesday. We're going to be talking about the rally and also traffic management and those issues on Thursday, just in the lead up to it. The Community Guard information item is just mostly about appeals. Granny did a great job of mentioning the road safety message, but in terms of the logistics, that's all going to be covered for you on Thursday in the mouth of the rally. Perhaps maybe some of you need to know that beforehand, but anyway, that's the way it was planned out. What about the noise pollution throughout the night during the rally? Yeah, indeed. Listen, I'm glad I don't live in Letterkenny. Are the 4 lanes going to be open on one lane so that emergency services can get through during rally weekend? Well, I think the last thing you need to be doing, I take your point, but the last thing you'd want to be doing at rally weekend is closing part of the main access to the town. Hello, is the roadwork stopping in Lahey and outside Ballybofey? Hello, is this for the rally? That's a good question. We'll try and find that out. How do you defend yourself if you are attacked by a larger dog? Well, that's a good question. And there's more coming in on the dogs. Really busy on that issue. We'll be coming to that shortly. Right, okay. Back with more on today's 9 till noon show after this break.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Revolutionise your style at Evolve Clothing Letterkenny Retail Park. Open 7 days, 2 floors of menswear featuring your favourite brands. Shop in store or online at evolveclothing.com, your ultimate menswear superstore.
1984 saw the launch of the Macintosh, the first untethered spacewalk, Maradona's world record transfer fee, and a small car with a big personality met the world for the first time. The Seat Ibiza is 40 years young. To celebrate, Seat introduces the special edition Ibiza with a range of style and design features to make it even better. And not to be outdone, there's also a limited edition Arona to stir the senses. The limited edition Seat Ibiza and Arona. Discover our latest offers at seat.ie.
Virgin Media is rolling out 2 gig full fibre broadband to more and more homes across Ireland. Big homes, little homes, haunted houses, big gaffs in the country, non-bouncy castles. Number 16, Oxbow Lake Houses. The house with all the cats. To get Ireland's best broadband, check your address at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media, it's playtime.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. Subject to availability. Ireland's best broadband. See virginmedia.ie/proof.
Irwin Expert Electrical, your trusted destination for all things home appliances, electrical and entertainment in the Northwest. With over 50 years of leading the way, we pride ourselves on offering a diverse range of products under one roof. From top brands like LG, Samsung, Cooker, Bosch, Apple and more, take advantage of our free layaway service where you can store your new items until you're ready for them. Perfect for renovations and new build projects. Visit Irwin Expert Electrical today in Letterkenny or Buncrana.
Here at Kelly Cleaning Equipment, we have everything you need to clean your home, garden and business. As an official Gold Plus cashier dealer, we offer brand-leading domestic and commercial pressure washers, vacuum cleaners, floor scrubbers, steam cleaners, carpet cleaners and much more. Come and see us at Eurohouse, Killybegs Road, Donegal Town or online at kellycleaningequipment.ie. And for a limited time only, claim up to €150 cashback when purchasing a Cashier Professional Pressure Washer. Kelly Cleaning Equipment. Choose Cashier.
More so by accident than design, there's kind of been a theme of road safety and safety with the dogs, as we were talking earlier on. I'm going into water safety now because, quite rightly, an awful lot of attention is paid to safety on our roads, given the tremendous loss of life. But we certainly can't take our eyes off the water, both inland. It's not just the sea and our rivers, but other inland waterways as well. And we have Roger Sweeney now, who's Deputy CEO and Marketing Manager at Water Safety Ireland. And Water Safety Ireland is saying that water safety should be as important as measures to prevent road traffic collisions. Good morning, Roger. Can you hear me, Roger? No, Roger cannot hear me. Okay, I'm going to kick him out and bring him back in. 1 second now. We'll go to Roger in a second. Actually, I brought someone else in who I'll speak to in a moment. Right, so I'm just waiting for Roger to join us now, and we'll have a chat to him. Just listening to Kathleen Murray, says the listener on the dog issues. She's 100% right. I support her fully. That comes in from Monica. Another in 2023, XL bullies made up 1% of Britain's dogs population, but responsible for 43% of all attacks. Kathleen clearly loves dogs, but she is in denial. Roger, are you there?
Greg,
good morning. I am indeed. I had a full stone there. That was my fault. I was just saying in the preamble, Roger, that we are rightly very conscious of road safety, but we need to, and this is Water Safety Ireland's position as well. We need to make sure that we have as many measures in place as possible to prevent tragedy in our waterways, be it both inshore and offshore, I suppose.
Greg, I'm so glad that you mentioned road safety to give it a bit of perspective, because I think it's a bit of an eyebrow raiser for some of your listeners if they think about this. We had about 1,300, just over 1,300 deaths on our roads and in the water combined over 5 years, and nearly half were drownings. Nearly half, 45%. So it's really a tragedy that takes lives, about 10 lives every single month. That's 10 communities, 10 families that are devastated every single month on average, Greg. And so, and it's not just at summertime, but rightly so that we should talk about it, particularly over the summer months. We need to give, as you say, water safety as much attention as we do road safety, And
indeed, and there's more interesting information too that might come as a surprise to people. It's what leads to a drowning. We have seen a fantastic rise in sea swimming and what have you, and things like that there, and we're in the water more, so people might say, well, naturally more people in the water, that's very sadly going to lead to higher tragic instances. But that's not really the makeup of those, unfortunately, that are losing their lives. It's far more nuanced than that.
It is, absolutely. And in terms of the sea swimming since COVID, of course, it's crucial that people take the necessary steps to be safe, and that goes for child supervision, knowing that where you get in, that you can get out safely if you're caught by a slight current, for example. But that said, swimming only accounted for about a quarter of the accidental deaths. About nearly 60% of the drownings, those individuals were actually up to something on land, not actually swimming. So if you think about walking, if you think about everything from picking blackberries, for God's sake,
angling, of course, rock angling, sea angling,
angling from shore. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So sometimes I think people can, you get a lovely summer, lovely weather, they can be lulled into a false sense of security and get too close to the edge. That's actually why we even say to the kids in our schools program to stay safe, SAFEs, to stay away from edges. But sometimes I think people, especially if alcohol is taken, because alcohol is a factor in about a third of drownings, Greg. And so if you have alcohol taken, no matter what you're doing, you may overestimate your ability and underestimate the risks. That can happen anyway when people are leaving, say, the lovely pool environments of the indoor swimming pool and then coming out in the summertime and getting into the water. But the water typically stays colder than the air. It's always colder, especially at this time of the year. And most people haven't dipped a toe in the water yet, Greg. Not since last year.
But Roger, there's something going on, or a gap somewhere, isn't there? Because look, we are an island. We've got sea the whole way around us. We are blessed with so many lakes in every county, and rivers and all the waterways that we have. And yet, in terms of our understanding of it, or perhaps our respect for it, or our understanding of the dangers, there's a serious sort of knowledge gap there, which, as I say, is quite remarkable with so much sea around us and, of course, so much inland waterways. Where's the gap? Is it education?
It's a very good point. There's something missing, because you triggered a memory with me, Greg, even that I remember as a young boy that road safety wasn't really spoken about. And next thing we started to hear in schools about the importance of wearing seat belts. And certainly I think we're at a stage where children are now coming home and starting to have a conversation around water. But at the same time, that conversation typically, I'm not saying everybody, but typically it's left until there's a series of tragic drownings. Yeah. It's left until there's a really hot spell, Greg. But really that water safety conversation with loved ones, that has to happen now. It has to happen months before you even go near the water. And that needs to really emphasize things like, questioning, do you have a swimming ability? Are you competent in the warm swimming pool at a leisure centre? But then do you know about the dangers that, and these are situations where people drown every year, from entanglement, from currents, rip currents, for example. But then a lot of people drown inland as well due to currents, because they get into someplace safely, but then they can't get out because they've drifted just into a deeper area. Yeah. So that conversation, I think it goes right back to your point, Greg, about what's missing. I think that water safety conversation is missing.
Maybe even just a module in transition year. Like, I just wonder if you stopped 100 people across Donegal, which is effectively surrounded by water, by the strip of border, and you said to them, like, if you fall into the sea or a river, what's the first thing that's going to happen to you? What's your body's reaction going to be? And what might that hinder? So that's the panic, the water shock, the panic of the cold.
That's right.
How do you calm? How do you calm that? What do you do with clothes or shoes? What's the best way to stay afloat until someone sees you, or to get attention? Or do you know what I mean? Like, that's basic.
Or what do you do if you see somebody in trouble?
Precisely,
in the first place?
Yeah. So I think if you asked 100 people, I would say they'd probably score about between 30 and 40% on those basic questions, which has to come down to sort of education. We can't expect behavior of people, including myself here, if we don't actually have the tools, i.e. the knowledge to have that, to influence that behavior.
I think you're spot on there, and I have a two-pronged something in my mind in terms of, first of all, with education. I think we Water Safety Ireland, certainly from our perspective, from the volunteers, etc., around the country, well used to having that conversation about the volunteers teaching swimming and life-saving skills to youngsters and adults, and then they go on to become examiners and instructors and lifeguards. Yes, we know that, but also we're taking a whole of life approach now. So we've sent every creche in the country, for example, really colourful packs to start that conversation. But on the back of the colourful cartoons that the children can point to, the dangers, on the back we give the tips for the educators. And I think that's what's missing, Greg. I think people have, culturally, I think we've had an unhealthy fear of water. And what we need to do is to take an approach that will convert that unhealthy fear into a healthy respect for all of these environments. And how do you do that? Yes, through education, but also people need to take a responsibility, I think, not only for their own actions, but also for the children in their care and for their friends and family. And how do you do that with education and that conversation? Well, the whole of life is a really good example. Anybody listening at the moment that has children in creches, ask if that resource pack has been taken down off the shelf for the summer ahead, because children, I swear, they can learn at 4 and 5 years of age.
But us as parents and guardians and caregivers can't relinquish all responsibility to the schools as well. I take exactly what you're saying though, Roger, but here we are in this cycle again, where we are seeing certain shops, it's up to them what they do. The inflatables are back for sale again, And
thankfully, on the inflatables.
Yeah, but just on that, I'm just saying at the moment, right, we've got a nice little northerly breeze, but very quickly after the weekend, as soon as the sun comes out, that could turn easterly, which all of a sudden, for us here in this part of the world, for a lot of the county, is an offshore breeze. Now, I've not seen an ad for one of these places that actually sells a bloody life jacket at a discount price, but plenty of inflatables. What do you want to say about it, Roger? Sorry for the waffle.
No, Greg, in the middle of what you said there, you said in an instant it can change. And some of your listeners will remember Ellen Glynn, because I was speaking to her mother just yesterday. And Ellen Glynn and her cousin were swept from shore out beyond the Aran Islands, out actually just off Inisheer. Next stop, New York, just back around 2021. And we've done a lot of awareness campaigns for teenagers and young adults around the fact that these inflatable stand-up boards, these inflatable toys and boats, you can be swept out in an instant. What happens, and the lifeguards that are on duty are driven demented every year, having to tell people to take these away. These are not appropriate for offshore breezes can take you away in an instant. But what happens is the child panics, and then an adult competent on land suddenly tries to get out to the inflatable toy and gets into all sorts of difficulties, and then the lifeguards have to kick in, and God forbid if the lifeguard isn't around, for example. But so culturally, again, I think we need this healthy respect for our aquatic environments by knowing what's dangerous, knowing the risks, and it comes back to this conversation. It comes back to people taking responsibility for having that conversation. And I think this week is a good time because it's National Water Safety Awareness Week. But at the same time, what does that mean? Well, it means that the schools are not yet closed, and we have created a video, Water Safety Ireland. If you go onto YouTube and put in Water Safety Ireland, you'll get a 7-minute video specifically for primary school children. And those 7 minutes could save a life. They give all the children all the tips. And we talk about these tips frequently, but this goes into more detail. So I'd ask anybody listening, if it's one thing you do before the summer, and any teachers listening as well, please play that video. It's 7 minutes that could save a life.
And another thing, Roger, too, I'm a massive fan of the water. My children are as well, and I'm encouraging that. And lots of those are around me. The first opportunity is to get out into the water. Don't be afraid of it. It's a wonderful resource, and it's wonderful for children as well. This is about just doing it safely, not discouraging people. We are not killjoys here, Greg. There's nothing worse than irrational fear. There's no need for that. This is just about logic and safety, and get the young ones out into the water, because there's literally nothing like it. It's just a case of doing it safely and to avoid tragedy. Roger,
exactly, Greg.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can recall people being told as children, "Stay away from the water, or I'll kill you." That type of thing. But we convert that now by telling people exactly what's dangerous, and watersafety.ie will give you exactly what you need to know to stay safe for the summer ahead.
Good stuff. Take care of yourself and stay safe yourself. That's Roger Sweeney, Deputy CEO and Marketing Manager at Water Safety Ireland.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Whether you're on your way to work or the shops, how you get there can make a difference for all of us. By choosing public transport whenever you can, you're helping reduce Ireland's transport emissions. Last year, people around Ireland took a record number of over 300 million journeys by bus or train. And this year, to help more of you on your way, almost €1 billion has been dedicated to creating greener, better public transport. Because wherever you're going, your journey counts. Visit gov.ie/your journey counts. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
PDO thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. 07495 32575.
The life of a Charlie's chip is never dull. Once they're selected, they're off to Charlie's, where they lose that jacket, have a nice wash, and get into shape. Before going out, there's always a few nerves, totally unnecessary, because, let's face it, they always go down well. Enjoy Charlie's chips to sit in or take away daily from 12 to 8 at Pierce Road, Letterkenny. When the hunger hits, pull into Charlie's.
Pre-orders for the 242 models have begun at iMotors, and you won't want to miss these incredible offers from Nissan. Enjoy 3.99% finance across the entire Nissan range, including the SUV of the year, the Nissan X-Trail. Prefer electric? Get 0% finance on the Nissan Leaf, or save a whopping €10,000. Visit our showroom in Drumkeen or Malin today and take a test drive. These offers are limited, so hurry and take advantage now.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Discover a new standard in healthcare at Greenview Medical Centre, Letterkenny. For routine checkups or urgent concerns, Greenview Medical Centre offers children's consultations, referrals, prescriptions and specialised male and female healthcare. Don't wait to get the care you deserve. Book now at greenviewmedicalcentre.ie or call 074 920 2070. Early morning and late evening appointments available. Greenview Medical Centre, Riverside Retail Park, Letterkenny. A new health horizon.
Okie doke. So as we revealed to you about less than an hour ago, the Green Party leader Eamon Ryan's expected to announce this afternoon that he's stepping down as party leader. Mr Ryan's due to make an unscheduled announcement at government buildings after this morning's cabinet meeting. It's understood he will not leave cabinet. Michael White is chair of the Green Party in Donegal, and I suppose just learned of this information around the same time the rest of us did, Michael, because you were chatting to Eamon Ryan briefly last week, and there were no indications at that point that he was on the brink of stepping down.
No, it wasn't, Greg. Good morning. There wasn't any indications when I spoke to him, and there's no big push internally that I was aware of. I know we had a tough local elections. It wasn't a total wipe that had been predicted. So generally, the feeling was that the party came out of the local elections in a reasonable shape. So there was no big push to run against Eamon Ryan that I'm aware of. So today's come as much a surprise to me as it has to everybody else. Do you think then the motivation might be something other than the outcome of the local elections? Of course, I understand I'm asking you to speculate here. It's pure speculation, yeah. I guess the next thing, the political horizon, is obviously the general election. But the timing seems a bit odd to me. That I guess perhaps he thought he didn't want to be leading the party into the next general election. There's enough time for a new leader to prepare. But it is speculation, and in terms of his track records, he took the party from a near-death situation in 2011, strongest ever showing in 2019. He's had whether you like, we've had a huge impact in government, and that's a lot down to his ability to organise the party when he was in government. So he's a lot of achievements under his belt. And as I say, today's a bit of a surprise. Well, actually, it's a big surprise to all of us, I think, from what I've seen on online groups. Nobody was expecting this. Yeah, indeed. And of course, for a lot of people, the Green Party policies aren't popular. For many people, they're necessary. He's kind of become a bit of a lightning rod, I think, for negativity within government. And it is important to say, and some people might not like me saying this, but that's okay. He's very highly respected and well thought of outside of Ireland and within Ireland by many, but particularly strong reputation outside of Ireland. So he just then must clearly think that he is not the right person to lead the Greens into the next election. Maybe he saw the bounce that Fine Gael seemingly got from the change of leadership there, and is doing the same for his own party. Possibly, yeah, but it's just worth. He is well regarded, and one of the reasons he's well regarded, what I point out, is last year Ireland's emissions peaked for the first time, directly because of the impact the Green Party had on government and some of the measures taken since 2020. So it's not all down to him, but at least he can lay claim to having a really positive, beneficial impact on Ireland's trajectory. But as you say, maybe well respected outside of Ireland. But obviously, he's had issues in rural areas. He's not popular. The security regulation of why he chose to resign now. And I guess what the thinking is what happens next. So there'll be some people throwing their hats in the next few days, I guess, to try and replace him. Could you pick two that you think are likely to replace him? It's funny, because there wasn't any big push to replace him, it's not something that had been on my mind. The two obvious candidates that I can think of are Catherine Martin, who challenged him for the leadership in 2020, and then Senator Pauline O'Reilly, who's the chair of the party. Those would be the two that pop into mind. But you also have ministers like Malcolm Noonan, Roderick O'Gorman, and Washington Smith, and you Senator Hackett. These are all people who throw their hat in the ring. Okay, Michael, but listen, the line is not fantastic, but we got the thrust of your points, and I appreciate you taking the call at short notice, and wish you well. Have a good day. Thanks. Talk to you later. All right, bye-bye. Now, the funny situation here is a wee bit funny, is that Minister Ryan's expected to stay on as Minister for Environment and Transport, though whomever replaces him as the leader has the decision-making power on who is the Green ministers.
So the new party leader might say, thanks very much, but we're going to move you out of environment and transport and put this person in. Such is the makeup of it. Okay, interesting stuff. We'll surely get more reaction to that on the programme tomorrow. But that was Michael White's initial reaction to it. What do you think out there? 08660 25,000, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Right, we're going to take the 1:45 break 5 minutes early, because then we're going to focus on the garden, because Paul McLaughlin is in with us. He is a gardener at Ballochdur Garden Centre at the Mountaintop in Letterkenny, and if you have a question, it's not too late to get it addressed to Paul. WhatsApp or text 08660 25,000. You can WhatsApp your voice note, by the way, if it's easier to explain, right? Because sometimes via text it can be difficult to get your point across. So feel free to voice note us on WhatsApp if you've got a question for Paul. It's good for us, it's good for you. And you can also call Caroline or Shannon, in fact, on 07491 25,000. Paul's with me after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The Highland Radio Hoolie to Salou is getting closer. Join me, David James, and a host of Ireland's top artists for a week of fun in the sun. Staying for 7 nights in the stunning 4-star Sol Costa Jurado Hotel with non-stop entertainment morning, noon and night. But hurry, we only have a limited number of places available. Don't miss out on the holiday of a lifetime this September. To book, call Country Music Tours on 074 91 19 955. We'll see you in Salou.
The neighbours have done it. Your friends have done it. Even your mum's done it. Now you can do it too. Save €10,000 on a new Nissan Leaf. There's never been a better time to switch to electric. Nissan Leaf with €10,000 off for a limited time only. Visit nissan.ie or contact your local Nissan dealer right now for details. Nissan. Innovation that excites. Savings inclusive of €3,500 SEAI EV grant. Terms and conditions apply.
If you're running low on worktop space, the new Ninja Double Stack Air Fryer is perfect. Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Aeronix. With 2 stacked drawers and 2 meal racks, it evenly cooks 4 layers of food at the same time. Perfect for up to 8 people, saving up to 55% on energy costs compared to conventional ovens. See the new Ninja Double Stack Air Fryer at Ben Sweeney Aeronix, Port Road, Letterkenny, or in the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Planning on renovating your garden this summer? Then look no further than Dealside Garden Furniture. With a full range of sizes in garden sheds, summer houses, playhouses, outdoor canopies, fencing and much more. Now available to view and buy on dealsidegardenfurniture.ie. Dealside Garden Furniture Lifford. Made to measure and one-off designs are our speciality.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Support local at McElhenney's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhenney's Ballybuffet.
Okay, so dry with sunny spells this afternoon and evening. Temperatures 13 to 15 degrees, which is still a bit chilly. Tonight, temperatures just 4 to 8 degrees. Paul McLaughlin, gardener at Ballochdur Garden Centre. Chilly enough at night too. Does that affect anything, I wonder?
It does too. To be honest, it's just the garden, especially the summer flowers and stuff.
I expect honesty from you, Paul.
Yes.
Every answer needs to be honest.
Very good, very good. No, everything's looking a bit flat at the minute, so it is, to be quite honest. Just it's the sunshine levels aren't there to bring flowers on and stuff
They
like
need
that.
that. That is their lifeblood, isn't
absolutely,
it?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's just...
so we'll see. Hopefully we're going to see an increase in sunshine this week, and things are looking middling. Definitely good for Sunday and beyond. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So that's good for the gardens, good for grass.
Absolutely. You have to keep the faith.
Yeah. All right, okay. The weather has not been great, but we've seen other parts of the continent seeing record weather. I suppose extremely hot weather.
Yes.
Dry spells present their own challenges too.
Absolutely. Yeah, dry spells can be as tough on plants as sort of too much or not enough sunshine, if you know what I mean. But we're also looking for that happy medium, I suppose. Now I see Southern Europe's getting it very hot at the moment.
So if the weather is picking up, how can we give a bit of zhoosh to the garden?
Yeah, pretty much just make sure everything's sort of in as good a condition as it can be. A healthy plant's going to perform well, so maybe give it a wee feed at this stage. Just keep an eye on the watering, just in case that all those raining outside plants in specific positions may not be getting enough water, if you know what I mean. But and if they're getting a bit out of shape, just give them a wee trim now, wee light trim.
What if you're looking at your summer bedding and you go, it's mid-June, looking a bit sorry for itself? Is that it done? Will it come back?
No, absolutely not. No, if it's what I got, if the weather comes good now, it will fly along. So it will. And like I say, don't be afraid if it's getting a wee bit out of shape. Don't be afraid to give it a wee light trim. Just reshape it, kind of. You might cost yourself flowers for another week, but
and to give it a vitamin D boost as well. You know, if the sun comes out, bring the plants out into the sun if they're in shaded areas.
Yes, if they are in a shaded bit and have been suffering for a while, if at all practical, you can bring them out to the sunshine and actually just give them that wee boost, like you say, the wee vitamin D boost. It'll keep them going on.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of what to put on plants,
yes.
You talked about giving them a bit of feed. What's the best?
Pretty much the best we would think would be Miracle Grow. Miracle Grow is a general purpose fertilizer. It kind of does everything, but it's a short-term boost. You Miracle Grow every 2 weeks and sort of lasts for 2 weeks, so you have to sort of maintain it through the flowering period. But it's that good instant boost. Like if you use something like your poultry manure, it's a slower burn, if you know what I mean. So it's going to take longer. So if you're looking for instant results, like some Miracle Grow.
And at the end of the day, the rest is in the lap of the gods, isn't it? Because with the best will in the world, these are living things and they respond to their environment and their conditions, and hopefully they'll bounce back and look fantastic. But it's a wee bit in the lap of the gods too.
Yeah, pretty much. Like last year, sort of never really came round to such. Like after June, it sort of everything's a wee bit downhill. But now we have to hope for the best.
We'll get on to more stuff, but I want to get to a few questions as well. Black-eyed Susie plants, planted it 2 years ago. It never came back this year. What could or would have happened?
Probably the black Rudbeckia there would be should be a very reliable plant. Should be actually an easily grown plant. What may have happened, some of them perennial plants, if it was lying sort of in a damp position over winter, maybe the sort of roots of it may have rotted a wee bit. You know what I mean? They can be sometimes susceptible to sort of mice damage as well. If it's a lean winter, you may go for the roots of that. But it'd be more likely that it was sitting in too wet a spot and it just didn't survive over the winter.
All right. I want to plant calla lilies. Can you advise what kind of area, soil, etc.?
Yeah, calla lilies, lovely plants. So they are very, very impressive looking plants. Generally, they like full sun. They will tolerate partial shade, but generally full sun if possible to get them flowering nicely, and pretty much any sort of middling well-drained soil.
Yeah, okay. Can you ask your guest, Paul, how I can treat or prevent potato blight organically? I tried a mix of baking soda, water dish soap, very liquid, I presume that is, vegetable oil, but it didn't work. So they mixed baking soda, dish soap, and vegetable oil. Didn't work. Yeah. But they want the organic route, if possible, to tackle blight.
Right. Potato blight is a huge problem at the moment. This particular type of weather here is very much on it. You do get the fungicides for it, which obviously aren't organic. For organic nature, the best thing you can do is stuff called copper mixture. It's what like old farmers use, which is called blue stone, but it's based in copper. But it builds up the plant and sort of builds up its resistance to blight.
It fights off blight more than you prevent it.
It's important to actually get it on pretty much now before blight would really set in. So copper mixture you get in most garden centres and it's certified organic.
Hot, humid weather, is that blight weather? Is
exactly, and even sort of misty weather, like even last night, sort of mist sort of settled down, and that's pretty much hanging there. That sort of continuous dampness sort of helps spread blight and everything.
But I mean, there's no guarantees if you're going down the organic route, really, is there?
No guarantees, pretty much. But you sort of, the healthier the plant, the more you have the plant built up, the sort of better it is able to fight off infection.
My rhubarb's not doing the best this year. Any suggestions to feed it along or bring it along?
Rhubarb's it's a very hungry plant, so it is very hungry. The best thing you use for rhubarb is manure. Sort of give it a good mulch of manure. If you could get well rotted sort of horse or cow manure, like 2 years old, and put it on as a mulch in the autumn time. That'll feed it for next year. But poultry manure will do as well.
Okay. I'm thinking of growing some carrots. Could I grow them in a pot to see how successful I am, or do they need a garden?
In an ideal world, you probably would have them in the ground in the sense that just to get the length of them.
Yeah.
The pot you're going to use, chances are. But they do work well in a window box, something like that. But you'll never get huge carrots. But quite good. But carrots are notoriously difficult.
Are they?
I have always found them very difficult to grow.
Okay.
So it is.
Fascinating. What can I do with tomatoes that are spoiled all the time with black spots?
Black spots, I wonder, is the black spots on the fruit or on the
blossom?
On the blossom. Chances are if it's on the fruit, it's a thing called blossom end rot, which is a big black spot, comes where the blossom had been on the tomato. What happens there is it comes from irregular watering. So if you can sort of nail down your watering scheme in terms of if you say you do it every night at 6 o'clock, just keep continuing doing that, because just if you like do it today and then miss 2 days and then come back, it tends to bring on that blossom end rot.
And generally speaking, with tomatoes, regular feeding and green fly is a real enemy of tomatoes.
Yes, absolutely. Green fly, just the growing tips at the minute. Greenfly love them, so they do all right. So keep an eye out for that there. And
what do you do if there is greenfly about? Do you
greenfly? There are a few sort of different ways you can use your garlic spray to sort of keep them off.
Yeah.
Even just the hose, you can just wash them off if you want to be organic. You do get the bug sprays too, but as the season goes on, the tomatoes are developing. A lot of people don't like sort of using the sprays at that point. So, but even once again, your fey liquid and water will help to remove it.
All right, okay. How do I establish if a weed in my garden is Japanese knotweed, and how do I get rid of it?
Yes, Japanese knotweed, I suppose the first thing would be the identification. Take photos of it and bring it to your local garden centre. They should be able to identify it for you. Do not please bring the bit of plant with you, because we do not require it. We don't, because they're notoriously, they can grow from very little bits, if you know what I mean. So first of all, get it identified. If it is Japanese knotweed, I'm afraid the only option is chemicals. The chemicals do. Japanese knotweed's got this big, terrible reputation. It's been sort of unkillable and stuff, but it is quite killable.
So if you dig it out, though, would that not get rid of it?
Not particularly. The roots can go down 3 meters.
Wow.
So they can. So it sort of lies dormant down for a while and it will come back again, if you know what I mean. So and the problem is, if you dig it out, where do you put it?
Yeah.
Because it's illegal to move it.
Wow,
so you can't actually dig it out and move it somewhere else, if you know what I mean. So probably chemical spray is the only real option.
And is that you don't have to notify the local authority or anything, do you?
No.
You can tackle it. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Hi Greg, I have gooseberry bushes and every year fruit is on them. Then suddenly it all disappears when the leaves are stripped to bare wood.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening there?
A thing called a sawfly, I do believe. A sawfly is notorious on gooseberries. That they're sort of like wee caterpillars almost. They're very interesting wee creatures. They've actually got if you see sawflies on a plant and rub your hand sort of about an inch over them, they'll do this wee defensive dance to get you away.
Wow.
So they will, because they're only about an inch long or so. But sawflies...
Got small man syndrome.
Pretty much. But they're what I call... But they're... sawflies can strip a plant in a few days. So they can just keep an eye on them. You get sprays for them as well, or you can just physically remove them.
How do I get rid of ragweed?
Ragweed's probably what most people around here would refer to as benweed.
What are they? Describe them to us?
No, you see them in grassland, the big, tall, sort of very yellow.
Oh, right, okay.
So what do you go? Ragwort probably would be the proper name for them. But generally the most effective way of getting rid of them is just dig them out. They're actually quite shallow rooted, and because they're big, easily handleable plants, probably the easiest way to get.
Morris also wants to know about leather jackets.
Yes, leather jackets are a big problem in grassland as well. So they are. You do get sprays for it now, but I think most of them are agricultural use only, so you'd have to get a contractor maybe to use them for you if you want to go down the spray route. Another way of doing it is to encourage birds to the garden. The birds actually will
feed on them,
pretty much. So the way to do that would be get an old carpet or someone, lay it out on top of the grass, take it off in the morning, and then they're all on the surface, and the birds come along and just eat them all for you.
I've had this problem, moss on old tarmac.
Yes.
How do you get rid of it easily? Well, nothing's easily when we're
nothing
talking
easily.
about moss on tarmac.
They say old tarmacs. A lot of time you can just sort of, if you use some sort of thing to kill it off first and then pressure wash it off. But if it's old tarmac, you maybe sort of.
We see the problem with the old tarmac and the pressure washer. Especially say for instance, if you go into your local shop and just get a pressure washer. It's lifting stones as well and causing holes and stuff.
Yeah.
There are people who do this for a living, and it's not free, but it's not incredibly expensive. You cannot beat getting someone who knows how to do this to come in and do it.
Absolutely,
because that's what I had, and they were there for half a day, and clearly the tarmac was still old as you know what, but someone knowing what they're doing, going in, and they can do it quickly. I don't think you can beat that.
Yeah, no, well, you definitely professional. Every man sort of knows his job, if you know what I mean. But
this is a woman, actually.
Oh, very good, excellent, very good.
By coincidence,
yes.
Yeah.
So what I go, but
no,
something like that there. What I got, a lot of people, I see it around the place now. You see it as you drive about. A lot of people are using washing powder now. So biological washing powder.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be expensive.
No,
stuff.
absolutely not. No, just your what I got, any run of the mill stuff, and put it on. It'll actually effectively kill the moss.
Yeah,
and makes it easier to remove even with the
down
power
the
washer.
line,
That.
yeah.
Or another thing you can do, go down to the food wholesalers, vinegar.
Right.
Kill it too. So you can get like 5 litre drums of vinegar.
That won't work on the weeds on it as well, will it? Or is that just really?
No, the weeds, the vinegar will knock back the weeds too, if you know what I mean. But it's not sort of systemic. It just kills what's above the ground.
So around the house at the moment, it's just weeds everywhere. And it's even just the notion of starting spraying and and really effectively the weeds die back, but they're still there. So then you have to do something else. It's a.
I know, it's a never-ending battle, all right. So it is.
And what was remarkable too, at the back of the house, there was sort of like a strip 5 feet 5 feet by about 30 feet, and I bit the bullet because it was messy. So I took down an old fence that was rotten there and put down a plastic sheet and then put little stones on it. You know, like so that, what do you call it? It's not tarpaulin, but it's...
the Mapex.
Mapex, right? And I thought, well, that's it, maintenance free. Next thing you know, bloody weeds grow anywhere.
Yes.
They're just literally growing between the stones. Now, they're far easier lifted.
Yes.
But it was the scale. You would take half a day to lift them, but they didn't. They don't have any soil as such. They just can grow in any environment.
There are miracles in nature. Like even concrete, you can see them growing away happily enough. So, but it's just seems to be a never-ending battle.
And another thing too, I made the mistake going back, and lots of people do. I see it as my personal mistake. I'm not judging others. Is putting down white stone, like it's lovely, just when it's done. But my word, that's hard to maintain.
Yes, it can be.
It's because even if you weed it, the weeds die there, and they look crap, and they're hard to pick up, and it's tough.
Oh no, that is tough. All right, the gravel. Everybody sort of thought like gravel gardens be like maintenance-free gardens, but no such thing.
But they look lovely when you've done them. But I think they take more maintenance to keep to that look than alternatives.
Yeah, no, I seen a guy actually one day who was taking the stones had got dirty. So he was actually loading them into a cement mixer and washing them and putting them back on again.
Well, fair play to that man.
So it was nice, but it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, or washing his stones. I think in America, I've seen them spray them. It's like with a glue.
So they're resin bound.
Yeah, so they bind them, and maybe that's easier. I don't know.
But no, that's funny. That's actually becoming quite popular around here too.
Is it?
So it is.
Yeah,
just for driveways and stuff.
Yeah, because you get the look, but there's a little bit more resilience there, I think, to stuff and easy to clean.
I was watching TV one night. I seen Tyson Fury had it done in the garden.
Right.
But he had like his name in the driveway, just bound into the gravel and all. But actually, it looked very good, actually.
Yeah, of course. How do I keep my plants cool and hydrated?
Cool and hydrated, I suppose, if it's in the garden.
Sunglasses and a bottle of water?
Pretty much. So it'll be umbrella for them as well. But no, sort of, if they're in the garden, apply mulch like bark or something like that. Helps to actually keep the moisture down. If you're water morning or evening, because if you water during the day, it evaporates too quickly. But a good mulch around them helps to maintain moisture.
Just time for one quick one. How to prevent weeds from taking over my garden?
Yeah, pretty much just what we kind of spoke about there. I'd say the most effective and environmentally friendly way is get a pair of gloves and have at it.
And get a nice wee cushion for under your knees, and away you go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right, listen, Paul, thanks as always. It's been a pleasure. That 20 minutes really flew in. Thank you. That's Paul from Ballochdur Garden Centre, and you can call into Ballochdur Garden Centre or any of our fantastic garden centres around the region, and they're more than happy to help you and work with you. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning from 9. Have a great day and stay tuned. John Bresson's next.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.